everyone! Today we'll be recapping the story entitled The Archmage's Daughter. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot. Enjoy! Maybelle trembles in fear as she faces her mother. Anger is visible on her mother's face because she can't memorize all the runes from the grimoire. Unlike her brother Claudel, who had it all done by the age of 6 and was able to come up with his own rune by the age of 7. Overwhelmed with depressive feelings, Maybelle promises her mother that she'll do better, but the woman already dismisses her, demanding that she go back to her room. Before she can even go, she hears her mother curse her. Maybelle's heart aches at that. How can she be so cruel to a child? In her room, her head is filled with questioning why she can't do anything. She's too different from her other family members. No wonder people call her Cyclamen House's embarrassment. Suddenly, her brother enters her room, cruelly teasing her for getting scolded again, and that their mom told him that she's not useful even in the slightest. Once again, her heart aches hearing those words. Apparently, her brother is there because their mother has called her downstairs. The moment she's at the stairs, her brother suddenly pushes her, causing her to fall. Her knees are hurt, but she has no time to go to the maids to treat it. Her mother's already waiting for her, and she doesn't think the maids will give her medication either. They won't even bother to set a table for her since her own family doesn't want to dine with her. Oh no, I feel so sorry for this little girl. On her way to her mother's room, she hears her mother talking with her father about some sort of money. It turns out that a guy named Raquel is sending them money to take care of her, and that her parents aren't her real parents. Her known mother doesn't want to take care of her anymore since she's embarrassing their name. However, her father thinks about the money that they have been receiving from Raquel. Desperate to leave the house, Maybelle enters and asks where's the address of Raquel. Without thinking twice, the mother, wanting to finally get rid of her, tells her the address of her real dad. She walks away to the residence in the north and her real dad. Those are the only things she can think about. Even if she's seen as useless and despicable there, it will still be better than this place. The residence that's referred to as the North Residence is located right next to the Black Forest. It's close to that notorious forest where many people are laid to rest. When Maybelle arrives at the address, she's greeted by a huge house, but it looks creepy and is filled with a dark aura. She knocks on the door, and an old man who seems to be a butler greets her with a smile and asks her who she is. However, she struggles to say anything, so the butler asks her to come in since it's cold outside. As they walk in the hallway, the butler keeps asking her some questions, but she's too nervous to answer. When they arrive at the living room, the butler asks her to wait since he'd be preparing tea for her, but before he can even go, Maybelle asks him if it's okay for her to be there since she's sure that she'll end up getting kicked out, so serving her tea would be strange. The butler kneels and smiles at her. He claims that he already knows who she is, and this residence welcomes her. Before he goes, he's worried that Maybelle might be bored, so he gives her a toy for her to enjoy. Meeting a new person and seeing things she had never seen before makes her wonder what kind of person her real father is. It would be nice if he's kind-hearted. All of a sudden, she hears a loud thud and sees a man covered in dirt. The man's eyes pierce into hers as her legs tremble in fear. And when the man has a clear look at her, he wonders if she's his daughter. Before she can even answer, Maybelle keeps on having hiccups. Suddenly, her father asks her to hold her hand out, and when she does, he hands her a strange object covered in fur that resembles a smooth shell. When she asks what it is, her dad told her that it's a monster seed. Suddenly, a guy with long white hair and wolf ears enters the room, babbling some things that Raquel didn't follow. Maybelle asks where's the old man that greeted her, then the guy told her that it was actually him. He introduces himself as the residence's manager, Knaus, and the person she just met is Raquel, her father. Knaus extends his welcome to Maybelle once again as he asks how long she'll be staying there. Maybelle isn't sure what to reply and just says that she'll be staying for a bit. Knaus smiles at her as he assures Maybelle to serve her earnestly during the period of her stay. Raquel asks Knaus to let the Florence sister be in charge as he walks towards the door ready to leave. But before Raquel can leave, Knaus asks him if he won't be greeting Maybelle affectionately at least once since she's the last thing that Miss Galatia left. And just with that, Raquel attacks him with magic, causing Knaus to tremble in fear and ask for forgiveness. Raquel tells him to just perform his duties properly since he knows he has no need for useless things. Witnessing what happened, Maybelle immediately says sorry for coming as she falls on the ground. In her mind, will Knaus and her dad Raquel be disappointed if they know she ran away from home? What will she do if she gets hated there too? When Maybelle wakes up, she's greeted by a huge room full of gold interiors. Suddenly, 3 ladies entered her room and introduced themselves as Sila, Laura, and Riza. They'll be the ones who will serve her upon their master Raquel's orders. Out of the blue, Maybelle's stomach growls out of hunger. Laura already sees this coming, pulls out a huge carrot and gives it to Maybelle. However, the moment Maybelle takes a bite, it tastes bitter for her. They wonder why she didn't like it, but then again, Maybelle is a human. Instead, Riza hands her some fairy grass, and when Maybelle tries it, she likes it. For her, it tastes like cotton candy. Maybelle shyly asks for more. The three of them find it cute and gladly give her a lot. Scylla then asks Maybelle to just call them by their name and treat them as friends. Turns out the three ladies are not humans, but nymphs. Humans would usually call them fairies, but they are nymphs and are also various components of a blossom. Scylla's the flower, Laura's the stem, and Riza's the root. They are the three distinct people who come together to form a single entity. Suddenly, Knaus arrives and is shocked that they fed the child with plants. He keeps on nagging at them, but eventually takes the blame since it's his fault for not opposing the master when he permitted the three to be in charge. After taking a bath, Maybelle heads to the dinner table wherein they serve her a lot of human foods. And by the moment she tries it, she's shocked by how delicious it is. And when she finally finishes it, Knaus serves her some tea and fetches her some snacks to accompany the tea. As she drinks the tea, she sees something under the table. What could that be? Maybelle tries to touch it when all of a sudden someone stops her. It's an orange-haired boy with wolf ears. It's his tail! Maybelle suddenly asks for forgiveness. She wasn't able to stop herself since it looked so soft and fluffy like cotton. The boy forgives her and introduces himself as Alberg, the most capable right-hand man of the master. He isn't actually allowed to come to that place and will be in trouble if discovered, but he'll surely get permission soon. In the middle of their conversation, Alberg hears someone coming. It's time for him to go, but before he goes, he tells Maybelle that he was going to mess with her if he likes her. However, since she emits a nice smell, he'll let her go. Knaus arrives bringing her a sweet cake. He then asks if she wants to meet Raquel. Maybelle asks if she can really do that, to which Knaus confidently says that she can. Maybelle asks Knaus to tour her around the residence after meeting the master. Knaus agrees and will just call her when the master returns. Bored and not knowing what to do, Maybelle scans her room and it's all cleaned up. She walks into the bathroom and sees that it's not yet clean, so she does it herself. She scrubs and cleans it all up. She imagines that if she does chores routinely, maybe they'll let her stay a little longer. I feel so bad for her. She shouldn't feel like this. Suddenly, Knaus arrives and is surprised by what she did, saying she doesn't really need to do that. But Maybelle reasons out that she does it often, so it's fine. Knaus freezes, especially when he finds out that she cleans up her own chores at the Cyclamen residence. Out of the blue, her father, Raquel, arrives and asks her why she did that. She looks at the floor and says that she thought that she should take care of her own space. Raquel walks towards her, pats her head, and says she did a good job. Those mere actions bring so much joy to Maybelle's heart. Surrounded by beautiful trees and flowers, Maybelle is having tea time with her father, Raquel. Knaus thinks that the location is better than Raquel's office. Seeing the sweets that Knaus is preparing, Maybelle is clearly delighted. Knaus can't help but call her adorable, which shocks her since it's her first time being complimented. Throughout the entire time, it can clearly be seen that Raquel somehow cares for his daughter and can be a little protective, like asking Knaus to move 10 steps farther, using not seeing the greenhouse as an excuse, and also him using magic to create more sweets for Maybelle to eat and enjoy. However, despite all of those, the awkwardness between the two still arises. It's somehow normal since it's just a couple of days from the day they met. While enjoying the tea, Raquel stands up and grabs someone from the bushes. It's Alberg. He's not supposed to be there since he's on probation. He immediately asks Raquel for forgiveness and apologizes to Maybelle for the interruption. Raquel asks his daughter if she knows him. Alberg gestures for her to make excuses, in which she does. Suddenly, Raquel asks the both of them how old they are. Maybelle says that she's 10, while Alberg says he's 12. Raquel's aura darkens as he asks Alberg to stay away. Raquel is definitely in daddy mode at this point. Days after that, everything seems to be going well, and Maybelle seems to enjoy the tea time with her father more and more. It seems like Raquel isn't as bad as he thinks he is. One day, Knaus suddenly asks Maybelle to venture out into the residence since he hasn't shown her around the residence. Knaus also introduces Alberg, whom Maybelle already knows, to her, and asks him to accompany them in touring the residence. As they go down the stairs, Knaus introduces her to every room. When they pass by the library, Maybelle asks if she can see it. Knaus agrees, but suggests that it would be nice if Alberg would be the one to show her since he's more familiar with the library. He took care of it before and learned things from the master himself. And it won't take long, since Knaus can't leave her for that long anyway, since he was instructed by Raquel to not leave them longer than 10 minutes. When Knaus leaves, Maybelle notices the way that Alberg's speech changed. He then asks if she has any complaints, so she denies having any. But then Alberg just says that even if he speaks that way, he doesn't have any intention to neglect his duty. He turns around and frowns. Before they get inside, he warns her to be quiet. When she nods, a smile is slowly forming on his face. The moment they enter the library, Mabel is shocked by how big it is. Well, there's a spatial manipulation inside the library, that's why it appears bigger than it looks. Suddenly, Mabel asks Alberg if she can call him Abel too, just like Knaus did. But Abel just tells her to do what she wants, but he hasn't really acknowledged her yet. Mabel asks if it's because she doesn't look like Raquel, but no, that's ridiculous. She looks exactly like her father. What he means is that he'll just acknowledge her if he sees her magic with his own eyes. They proceeded to tour inside the library as Alberg continues to explain things when suddenly she sees the Cyclamen House crest. She can feel a very strong magical energy from the place where the crest is. She tries asking Alberg about it, but he's surprised that Mabel can see it. That place is where the books about the Cyclamen House belong. Mabel's granted permission to go there. When she arrives at the bookshelf, she tries pulling out a book when all of a sudden the crest mark appears on her hands and she trips. She stands up, but then sees an unfamiliar surrounding. She looks around and sees her father lying on a sofa. She tries to stealthily escape, but her father's eyes slowly open, not having been asleep at all. Raquel asks why she's there, and when she explains the situation, he's surprised that she saw that too. Suddenly, he clicks his fingers and a cape appears on Mabel's back. She smiles, feeling how soft it is. It's like Alberg's tail. Seeing his daughter smiling, Raquel thinks how very similar she is to someone. Mabel thinks that perhaps it's her birth mother. Suddenly, Raquel flips his hands and a cloth suddenly falls on the ground, revealing a wand with beautiful blue and silver jewels. It's her mother's. Raquel reveals that Mabel's mother was an excellent cleric and that was her last memento. Mabel asks if he has some paintings or pictures of her mother since she hasn't seen her, but there's none. All throughout her life, Mabel isn't aware of her real parents. Raquel feels sorry about it and pats his daughter's head. He shares how he goes out and hunts monsters, but won't be doing that now since there will be someone waiting at his house. No, despite his cold exterior, he clearly cares for his daughter. When they are about to go outside, Mabel trips because of how short she is. Raquel then used some magic so she can just stay afloat. Mabel asks why he didn't come and visit her once. It's all because he couldn't come for her unless she looks for him first, but it doesn't mean he never went. Raquel shows her the other things in the library, including the portal, when all of a sudden she remembers that she left Alberg waiting outside. Just by mentioning his name, Raquel immediately glares. Mabel nervously explains that she had never met someone around her age, so she thought they might be able to get closer. He's clearly so protective of his daughter. As Alberg and Mabel finish their library tour, Knaus asks Mabel to deliver some letter to her father, in which she gladly does. She enters his room, but no one seems to be there. She places the letter on the table and sees different herbs. She touches the one that intrigues her the most when all of a sudden someone tells her not to touch it carelessly. A guy wearing a cape reveals himself. He smiles at Mabel and holds her hands as he performs some magic to heal the hand that touches the herbs. The guy introduces himself as Bellerophon, Raquel's first disciple. He explains that the medicinal herb that she touches, shalom, doesn't contain a poison but can cause symptoms similar to fatigue. Since she grazed it only a bit, the effects won't spread. He then asks if she's there to see Raquel. When she answers that she is, he suddenly casts some magic and a black bird appears. And just with that, he knows that Raquel's currently near the dining room. Before Mabel leaves, she expresses her gratitude and asks if she can see him again since it's her first time seeing a magic spell like that. But rather than a magic spell, Bellerophon tells her that it's a manifestation of mana and for sure she'll be able to do it too. Her mood goes down as she shares with Bellerophon that she can't use magic. He's kinda shocked too, but then smiles and tells her that she might not be able to do it today, but she surely will the next time. After that, Mabel heads to the dining room to see her father when all of a sudden she feels so dizzy and falls. Raquel is surprised that Mabel can get poisoned when she should have some magical immunity. Knaus thinks that Mabel isn't immune to magic. To be precise, it wasn't put on her in the first place. With that, Mabel will be more affected by the poison and won't be able to remain conscious since her health is weakening. A couple of minutes later, Mabel suddenly cries herself out of a nightmare. She's having dreams of how that woman whom she has known as a mother hitting her. But then Raquel pats her head, assuring she's all okay. As he exits her room, his aura turns dark, ready to punish someone. He leaves the house to go to the Cyclamen residence to take revenge for his daughter. As he should. When Mabel wakes up, she looks for her father, only to find out that he's at the Cyclamen residence. She already knows what's going to happen, that's why she begs Knaus to help her get there. All of them are against the idea of her going there since Raquel told them not to, but she's too persistent, and even told them that she'll be taking responsibility if anything happens. When Knaus and her finally arrive, she sees her father fuming with anger. He isn't expecting that what their father did would be repeated by his own brother. Out of the blue, Maybelle gasps the moment she sees something: the punishment room. Raquel is so enraged that he's destroying almost everything that he sees. His brother tries to stop him, saying that if not because of him, Raquel's daughter would have ended up like his wife. And if he continues to break down the place, his body breaks too. Though there are a lot of things that he can do, there are also as many restraints put on him too. Whether it's the shackles that appear because Raquel attacks him, or the pact that Raquel made with the Emperor causing him to separate with his daughter. Raquel's brother just laughs at him, knowing how accursed his body is. You watch out, mister. You will get what's coming to you for sure. However, the pact has long been voided the moment Maybelle went to look for him. Suddenly, a ray of magic attacks him. It's from his sister-in-law, the mother Maybelle knew. She continues to attack him while saying undesirable things about Maybelle and how she took care of her. But then Raquel laughs. Surely only trash spills out when that woman opens her mouth. His older brother says a lot of things about his daughter that provokes him even more as he uses his magic to choke him, making his brother struggle. Fuming with anger, he plans on burying everyone who maltreated his daughter along with that land. Seeing her father, Maybelle tries to stop him, but Knaus stops her. Slowly, snow drops as Knaus warns her that the magic her father's using is so strong that it can change the weather. The snow keeps on getting stronger. If he overdoes it, it will be bad for him. Those golden chains all over Raquel are dangerous for him. If he uses more magic than necessary, he's still bound by the restrictions. Seeing how Maybelle trembles upon seeing that certain room, Knaus asks its purpose. It turns out it's the room where Maybelle was being hit before. Knaus feels sorry. How could they do such a thing to a little child? Raquel gets a hold of his sister-in-law and forces her to confess what she did to his daughter, but she really won't. So he's planning to do what she did to Maybelle. Meanwhile, Maybelle's trying to go to her father, but Knaus won't let her. She begs, telling him that she's not going there because of her foster parents, but because of her father, since those chains look like it's hurting her dad. Raquel's about to punish his sister-in-law when all of a sudden Maybelle calls out for him. She's walking towards him, clearly feeling cold, and asks him to go home with her. She hugs her father and asks him to go back with her and eat lots of yummy cookies and drink some tasty tea. Just as the weather changes, cherry blossoms start blooming as her father smiles and agrees with her to finally go back. Oh, such a lovely sight to see! Maybelle is surprised that she managed to wake up early that day. She also notices how unusually calm the northern mansion is. She is having a meal as she recalls how she felt during the event in Cyclamen. She admits to herself that she did not feel anything when she saw her foster parents rolling on the ground like a normal child would. She begins to wonder if she is strange. Suddenly, Bellerophon appears. She asks him if he's had lunch yet, and he answers that it's technically still morning. But then another addition comes, and it's Abel. He wordly asks her if she's all right, and when she answers that she's fine, Abel leans on the chair happily. Maybelle can't help but admire his ears. He notices this and allows her to touch it this one time. She happily obliges, marveling at how fluffy and soft they are. Meanwhile, Bellerophon is not at all amused by their actions. He tells Abel to stop treating the lady like that since it is rude. Abel opposes his words, claiming that he'll declare Maybelle as the successor and not him. They begin to argue earnestly with Abel, questioning why Bellerophon is so close to the lady. They are interrupted by the arrival of someone at the door. It's a man who claims that he's there to pick up Raquel's daughter. Using Bellerophon's magic, the two of them spy as the strange man interacts with Khan. Khan is berating the man who is known as Sir Kyle for suddenly appearing at the residence without notice, and even shouting like some vulgar person. Sir Kyle merely teases him for being uptight. Instead of retaliating, Khan offers to escort the man to the main gate instead. Sir Kyle explains that he is there to meet the master as well as his daughter. Naturally, Khan won't just let him meet the lady so carelessly. Maybelle worries that they might end up fighting if she does not step up. What if Knaus gets hurt? Out of nowhere, Raquel descends the stairs, asking about the commotion. The stranger greets the master. However, Raquel isn't so pleased by his presence at all. She trembles in fear when her father speaks in such a cold tone, but then Bellerophon is there to comfort her. Sir Kyle shows the master the vegetables he has brought for him, but as expected, Raquel ignores him. So Sir Kyle mentions the rumor going around about his attack on Cyclamen. He asks them when the rebellion is starting, a notion that Raquel dismisses as ridiculous. Sir Kyle speculates that the only reason Raquel would interfere like that is because of his daughter. Maybelle is becoming anxious, thinking that it is not right for her to eavesdrop. Bellerophon then tells her that there's nowhere she can't go since everything is hers. He looks at her tenderly and he even says something that Maybelle can barely hear. Someone clearly has a crush. She's about to ask him about it when they are discovered by her father. Bellerophon greets his master, but Raquel is not happy to see his daughter holding on to the boy, even more so when she ends up holding Bellerophon's hand. Suddenly, Sir Kyle approaches her, enthusiastic about meeting her. Bellerophon shields her from Sir Kyle, telling him to pay attention to titles. When he turns to Maybelle, he points out that she looks nothing like Raquel. She feels hurt by the observation, but then he surprises her by saying that she looks like a baby instead. How random is this guy? Raquel, annoyed by all the noises, encloses Sir Kyle with his magic so they will not be able to hear his words. He then lifts Maybelle off the ground. Instinctively, she snuggles close to him. When her father takes notice of this, she tries to put space between them. However, he says that he didn't tell her to stop. No matter how cold as ice he is, he really has a soft spot for her. When the magic surrounding Sir Kyle disappears, he reprimands his friend for treating him so harshly. He then happily tells him that since he likes his daughter, he wants him to give her to him. Raquel summons wind to drive Sir Kyle out, but then he shouts that the Imperial family has sent him an invitation. He tells Raquel that his invitation will arrive soon too. At that moment, a blinding rune-like image appears, and with it is an invitation. On it are the words, Azatho's Fen Dragon. Later on, they gather in the dining room where Maybelle is startled by Sir Kyle's rambunctious way of speaking. Noticing his daughter's discomfort, Raquel tells his friend to shut up. Sir Kyle apologizes, but he expresses his worries about receiving the letter of invitation from Gun International. He warns Raquel against being stubborn. After all, disobeying the Imperial order is treason. An ominous atmosphere befalls them, especially when Raquel points out that Sir Kyle has become the Imperial dog after the Teftol War. Kyle explains that since they swore allegiance to their friend who became the Emperor, they have no choice but to follow his will. Kyle tells Raquel that even though he violated the oath relating to his brother, one remains intact. However, the master says that he doesn't care. Kyle is left in disbelief by his friend's nonchalance. Kyle mentions how kids tend to like the National Foundation. Even his son was ecstatic to receive the invitation. He asks Maybelle for her name once again. When she gives it, he comments that a handsome father indeed looks best with a pretty daughter. Raquel can no longer tolerate his nonsense, so he threatens to make his tongue obsolete. Kyle ignores him, asking Maybelle instead if she knows the National Foundation. Shaking due to the memories of the past, she answers that she does. She recalls how her fake parents would never actually let her go see the event. The others see how scared the child is, so they instantly blame Kyle for it. Raquel glares at him, asking if he threatened his daughter. Kyle is quick to deny the accusation. Fortunately, before things can escalate, Maybelle asks her dad if they can go see the National Foundation. At first, she is scared that she angered her father, but then he announces that they'll go. Kyle is so surprised, thinking how people can indeed change. Later on, Khan tells Bellerophon to take Maybelle to her room. He teleports her there. Bellerophon then asks her if she likes cute things. At first, he conjures a cat, but he notices that she doesn't like it, so he changes it into a cute bird, and she tells him how much she likes birds. She likes them so much since they have wings to fly and be free. She promises him that she will cherish the bird that he gifted her. He ends up blushing, glad that she does. It's the day that they are seeing the National Foundation, and the Florence sisters are all excited for Maybelle, especially since she's been waiting a long time for it. When it's just her and her father in the carriage, Raquel takes note of her nervousness, so he pats her head and tells her that she doesn't have to be anxious around him. When they take off, Maybelle is amazed that instead of traveling by land, the carriage is flying in the air. Her dad explains that it's magic. Wow, that's convenient! When they arrive at the festival, Raquel carries her around, and Maybelle is having the time of her life seeing all the wonderful things at the festival. She tells her dad how happy she is while beaming adorably. The Florence sisters leave them to enjoy the festival as they organize the luggage. Meanwhile, Bellerophon will stay with them since he can't leave his master's side in the capital. Raquel, however, orders him to stay far away. They go from stall to stall, much to Maybelle's joy. When they arrive at a store that sells cookies, the lady tells her that she can sprinkle magic dust into the cookies and then give them to the people she likes. Naturally, she offers one to her dad, but he tells her he doesn't really like cookies, and so she calls Bellerophon instead. Suddenly, Raquel blocks her path, claiming to change his mind, so he ends up taking a bite of the cookie. Poor Khan tearily tells his master how cruel he is since he too likes cookies a lot. Instantly, Maybelle hands him another cookie to make him happy. Unfortunately for him, the master steals the cookie from him, telling his daughter that she doesn't have to give him any. He claims that Khan is lying about liking cookies. But then Khan protests, so Raquel drags him away to speak with him. Maybelle offers Bellerophon the last cookie, but then he worries that she won't get to try it herself. So he bites the cookie in half so they can share it. He quickly wipes his face to get rid of the evidence, knowing his master will not be pleased. Suddenly, Bellerophon's handsomeness begins attracting attention, so he lifts his hood. Maybelle then worries that he doesn't like festivals due to the attention. He tells her that he does like it, he just doesn't like crowded places. However, he likes being at the festival with her. Oh, how sweet! Oh, young love, I wonder where this little crush leads them. Later on, Maybelle comes across a man who sells a magic wand that can make a person teleport. At first, Maybelle hesitates to try it, knowing that she can't use magic. However, the man assures her that it gets its magic from the magic stone in it, so anyone can use it. Using magic, even if it's borrowed, is important to Maybelle, so she uses it. However, bright magical patterns surround her for some reason. Before she knows it, she is transported to an alley. There, she meets a mysterious boy, asking if she's lost by any chance. The blonde-haired boy beams at her when she does not answer. He introduces himself as Aslan Justice Kyle. He has the same surname as Sir Bon Kyle. She introduces herself as well. He explains that he's at the festival with his father, and she answers that she is the same. She visibly droops when she mentions that she lost her father while looking around the market. She begins feeling anxious, afraid that they won't find her. Fortunately, Aslan tells her not to worry. He notes that if her father loses a daughter as adorable and pretty as her, then he's definitely looking everywhere for her. He then takes her hand and kisses it, claiming how lovely she is. OMG, why are these young people so flirtatious? Suddenly, they hear Khan's voice looking for her. Aslan is relieved for her. He then attempts to go find his father as well, but she stops him. She thanks him sincerely. Surprisingly, he leans down to kiss her cheek. He claims that he has a feeling that they will meet again. Meanwhile, Raquel arrives and lifts Maybelle into his arms. Relief is visible on his face. Maybelle sees just how worried everyone is for her. Aslan then bids them goodbye. Raquel thinks about going after Aslan, capturing him alive, and fortunately, Maybelle stops him. She tearily expresses how scared she is that she'll never see them again. Raquel tells her not to worry, vowing to never lose her again. As they make their way to the residence, she thanks her dad for finding her. When they arrive, she is so amazed that they have a manor in the capital as well. The maid explains that the master bought it, especially for her since she can't just stay in any old inn. The master did his best to make the place safe for her. Maybelle is hanging out with her pet bird when Bellerophon arrives. He explains that the bird is born from magic, so it is always with her even though it's able to hide itself. They watch as it flies away. Bellerophon tells her that it is through the bird that he was able to find her earlier. She is surprised that he was actually the one who discovered her location instead of her father. He tells her that his master is restrained in the capital, so he can't use much magic. This is because he's too powerful. She is surprised when he mentions how they planned a large scope just to find her. Even with his restrictions, Raquel would have done everything just to find her, even if it hurt him. No, Raquel is such a great dad. The next day, Maybelle worries about her dad and his restrictions. She recalls how upset he was when Sir Bon talked about the covenant they had with the royal family. However, she keeps quiet, not wanting to burden him further. Suddenly, they come across an announcement for the Golem race. It used to be banned, but it seems like they're reviving it to appease the nobles. Raquel announces that they can watch the race. Maybelle asks if it really is okay, but Khan assures her that they are all willing to do anything for her. Raquel lifts Maybelle to his arms and teleports them mid-air for a clear view of the arena. Maybelle finds the whole thing remarkable and enthusiastically tells her father how amazing it is. She has never seen anything like this before. Because of how much she likes it, Raquel claims that he can buy it for her, startling Maybelle. Oh, to be rich like this! Maybelle instantly tells him no, but he continues offering to buy her other stuff instead. Fortunately, Khan is there to explain to his master that it's the view that she loves so much. Instead, he suggests giving Maybelle a small animal to have by her side since she likes animals. Bellerophon explains to Maybelle that mages are friends with animals. After all, mages use mana that comes from nature. Mages even used to tame drakes and dragons, but such mages are rare now. Maybelle then wonders why her father, a powerful mage, only spends time in the north. Suddenly, her father announces that he will build a stable. Different horses will be brought for her to choose from. A racetrack will also be built so that she can practice horseback riding. Maybelle can hardly believe that she is now allowed to be happy in a place where no one hits or mocks her. Everyone looks at her with kindness. As she holds Raquel's hand, she thanks him. He kneels before her, telling her that if he can, he'll buy all the horses in the world for her. When she protests, he tells her that anything he gives her is not a waste of money. Later on, Bellerophon shows her a treat called cloud chips that taste like cotton candy. He then tells her that during the festival, a ball is held. Bellerophon tells her how the royal family summons the houses and how no one is allowed to refuse. Maybelle notices how sad Bellerophon has become, but she does not pry, knowing that everyone has something hard for them to talk about. Later on, the Florence sisters happily present her with some flowers that Bellerophon has to pay for. She notes how this sweet smell reminds her so much of Scylla. She then questions them why Scylla is the eldest when plants typically starts at the roots. So Riza should be the eldest. They explain that this is because Scylla came into existence first, since they are different from other species. Inside her heart is a mana crystal, and life grows downwards. That is why Scylla is first. They arrive at the arena, and as usual, Maybelle is fascinated by it all. Suddenly, a man bumps into Maybelle, causing her to fall. Fortunately, her father manages to catch her, but his anger at the man is evident on his face. When they ask if she's alright, she answers that she is used to the pain. When a man approaches them, his magic becomes uncontrollable, wanting to seek retaliation. Knowing that the Covenant is hurting him, she knows that she has to stop him. The man apologizes on behalf of his reckless friend. He then comments that they look like siblings before offering to cover the cost of Maybelle's treatment. Hearing all of this only makes Raquel even angrier. Before her father can attack the man, Maybelle declares that he is her dad. The man agrees, saying that they do look alike upon closer inspection. The man apologizes for the confusion. All her life, she heard people say that she didn't look like anyone, making her envy Claudel even more. But hearing that she resembles her dad makes her not jealous of him anymore. The man tells them that they want an apology from the true culprit. They can find the blue mustache mercenaries, the one responsible for guarding the arena. He even offers them a cheap admission to the event since the host is his relative. The man guarantees the safety of the participants since the golems are slower. After all, the mages who used to compete professionally are all gone now. This is all because of the mages' uprising. Raquel asks her if she wants to participate, so she answers that she does if she's allowed. He tells her that nothing is dangerous for her as long as he's there. Suddenly, the man who bumped into Maybelle earlier calls out to Gillian, the man they are speaking to. Gillian demands that he apologize to the lady, but the man refuses to. Raquel becomes incensed once again. The man, Dover, then ignores them to tell his friend that he was hired by a nobleman to participate in the competition. He then leaves in a hurry, causing Gillian to follow after him, but not before informing Maybelle where to go for the competition. Raquel is about to retaliate for her, but everyone stops him. They remind him how the royal family will find out about his presence and how he'll be dragged to the palace by his restraint. Instead, Raquel decides to participate in the competition too. The golem race is about to start. First, the participants will have to wake the golem up with their magic, reach the very end of the pillars, and make 3 laps around the stadium. After, the contestant must enter the artificial forest to retrieve the flag. Raquel sees how nervous his daughter is, so she explains that she did not expect to see so many people watching. She then asks him if he's ever watched the race before. When he answers that he did, she asks if he did so alone. For a moment, she sees his expression darken, but then he answers that it was the 2 of them. She wonders if he watched it with her mother. Even though she's curious, she can't bring herself to ask him. She tells him instead that Khan has given her some advice if she's nervous. He told her to imagine that the people in the arena are all potatoes. So typical of Khan to give such funny advice. Suddenly, Gillian approaches them to wish her luck. He is even surprised to learn that she's been a noble lady this whole time. When he notices her nervousness, he cheers her up by saying that she's not the only one in her age to join the competition since there are no age restrictions. The child is apparently of noble blood as well, and this whole competition is for him to have fun. I have a bad feeling about this. Gillian is about to pat her head, but he feels the freezing aura from her father, so he walks away, waving goodbye to the little lady. Before the race begins, Bellerophon reminds her of the bird he gave her, promising that as long as he and the master are around, no one can threaten her. The grand prize of the competition is Roshkel's moon of miraculous energy. Suddenly, she sees among the participants a familiar boy. It is the son of Luther Cyclamen's friend, the heir of House Aeshila. The sight of the boy took Maybelle back to the ugly memories of Claudel's manor. It was in the library, just in time for tea, when the boy asked for her identity, to which Claudel answered arrogantly, naming her as his servant, and as if that wasn't insulting enough, he even labeled her as dumb. Maybelle shakes off that memory as the game is about to start. As the excitement circulates around the arena, Khan and Raquel, Maybelle's father, are still totally not convinced about the game's grand prize. perhaps the Asila family doesn't intend on giving it to anyone, or maybe someone already owns the wand. Regardless, the players are now called to stand before the golems. The Archmage, though keeping calm, still worries over his daughter, so he commands Laura and Riza to follow his daughter to ensure her safety. As the magician casts magic over the golems, the game rules changed. They have to play as solo, making her and her father compete separately. The thought of competing alone is terrifying for the young girl. Thankfully, safety surrounds her as she sees the 2 fairies that her father sent and the bird that Bellerophon gave her. Maybelle overhears the 2 men talking while waiting for the game to start. It seems like a contestant is being coached by someone, and they seem oddly familiar. It was none other than the bearded man who hurt her. Though more surprising is that the man's master, also a contestant, is Claudel's friend, the red-haired member of the Asila family. Fear of being noticed starts creeping onto her skin, and the beads of sweat start forming. Maybelle silently wishes that he will walk past without noticing her, but it seems it doesn't work as he turns to face her. He remembers her, even asking if she was Claudel's servant and accusing her of sneaking out just to attend the game. Well, he's not wrong. She indeed ran away from the Cyclamen Manor. The bitter past ignites courage within her. She starts talking back at his insults. After all, it is true, she is not a servant. Gone was the fear of being noticed by him because she is surrounded by those who treasure her. She demands not to be labeled as a servant, but her claims of being Claudel's sibling are disregarded because that boy had claimed to be the only child of the family and already introduced her as a servant. Their conversation was cut short as their dragons slice through the air. Still, he follows her to deliver a message. He wants to punish her, just as anyone can punish a servant who ran away. The match begins with the contestants keeping their fast paces. The red-haired boy is still not over their conversation and his accusations of her. He casts magic over her dragon, causing it to fall from the sky. A mischievous grin plasters on his face as Maybelle seems to be helpless, but he assures that she will not die. Well, he cannot risk the game being stopped, whatever his reasoning may be. Fear is yet again crippling inside her body, and along with the panic, it's causing her eyes to well in tears. Despite the situation, the 2 fairies are not leaving her behind, even encouraging her to use magic. Sincerity is needed to invoke magic, so in the middle of falling, she clears her mind from worries and starts praying intently. Repeatedly, she prays for the dragon to open its eyes and fly with her. Still, Maybelle prepares for impact, but she feels nothing. Instead, as she opens her eyes, she sees her father and she is flying on her own. Well, they have no time to celebrate her achievement in the middle of the game, so her father urges her to continue the game. Although her prior intention was not to win, but rather ride the dragon, her priorities and goals have shifted. Now she wants to be victorious. Maybelle now continues flying with the dragon, who seems to be very attentive to her as it responds to her voice. It's rather different from what Bellerophon had told her, that dragons are incapable of emotions. Well, the dragon clearly likes her. Maybelle approaches the forest where the enemy flag is. Suddenly, she notices that the red-haired boy is already there as well. His face plastered with his mischievous grin once again. What is he planning this time? She hears a loud growl from a distance, and her enemy's bearded servant arrives, now with his own dragon that seems ready for a battle. The appearance of the new enemy means there is yet another threat for her, but Maybelle is no quitter. She will continue to play. The fairies are still with her, now guiding her and teaching her a way to get past through the 2 threats. Well, it will be a risk that she needs to take. She needs to utilize her chances to fly higher and dash down so no one can get hold of her. As she follows their advice, she realizes how different she is from before. Gone was the young Maybelle who gave up easily. Now she is stronger and more willing than ever. On the fairies' cue, they dash down with great speed. Well, the only worry they have is of Raquel knowing what they're doing. But luckily, he is still not around after Maybelle left him. Maybelle's fierce move surprises her 2 assailants. The servant, however, is quick to follow her. Just as he is nearing her for an attack, a loud bang happens and Maybelle's father appears again. He is attacking her perpetrator, who now seems to be afraid. With one more attack, the servant is already falling from the sky. Her father's mind is still at the game, though, and so he instructs her to focus and continue. He even pointed out the flag. Maybelle is winning already. Once she gets it, it's over. With great determination, she dashes down with great speed. The flag is getting nearer, and victory is just a fingertip away. But a sudden attack almost hit her. It's that boy again. The only difference is, he now looks worried. His mischievous grin from earlier is now washed away because of the fear that she, someone he thought was a servant, may take the grand prize away. The boy is full of confidence that he can defeat her. After all, he is the great Asila's ancestor. His sudden ferocity makes Maybelle hesitate in her capabilities, but she perseveres because the fairies are with her, and she has a strong faith in her father who's watching and protecting her. Again, this competition has rules, and that includes attacking fellow competitors or else it will result in disqualification. Still, the cunning boy is now filled with desperation. He plans on burning her just so she will not be able to talk anymore. Besides, the spectators in the surveillance system are somehow no longer available. He shoots a fireball attack, pressuring Maybelle even more. Fear is again crawling back to her, making her unable to think in full rationality. She can awaken the dragon, but she doesn't know how to use attack magic. But her determination never left her. She will fight her way to victory. Removing her focus to the current enemy, she reverted it to the flag. She needs to take it before anyone can. Immediately, she flies with speed, and finally she captures the flag. Maybelle wins! But in front of her is a big ball of fire aimed at her. But in just a blink of an eye, it's gone. Who did it? Perhaps her dragon that seems to awaken? In a desperate measure, she was able to extract magic that awakened her dragon, who redirected the incoming fireball. This event surprises the red-haired, leaving him dumbfounded, though he seems to know the significance of the color of the dragon's eyes. Still not accepting defeat, he even accuses Maybelle of violating the rules. He takes out a circle orb and threatens to call his father, but suddenly he falls unconscious. It's her father's doing. Raquel checks upon his daughter and fixes her burnt hair while informing her of what he has done. Apparently, he made the other participants sleep and disabled the little dragons that observed the match to avoid any danger. In one snap of his fingers, the dragon is completely rid of stone, but it was not his doing that saved and awakened the dragon, it was his daughter's. Maybelle may think that she's a failure as a wizard, but her father disagrees. It seems she inherited her mother's magic of bringing life to the dead. And after all, she is an archmage's daughter. To cover Maybelle's true magic, Raquel once again puts up the cover of the dragon because they have to get back to what they're doing, the competition. With great satisfaction, Maybelle is elated to say that she won. Everyone is waiting with anticipation in the arena to see who won the Yuhi competition. A dragon lands in the center of the arena, and behold, the winner is revealed. The crowd is cheering in amazement for the girl who won the game, but the host seems to be breaking sweat and nervousness. As Maybelle walks onto the platform, the Roshkel moon is not handed to her, but she's instructed to wait for a while. While waiting, Raquel falls into silence while the others are complaining that the grand prize should be given at the stage. Bellerophon is keeping Maybelle accompanied, but it seems like her father dislikes their closeness. He ends up giving the two a 3-minute limit in their interactions, to which Bellerophon obliges. The MC arrives and extends his arms to Maybelle, trying to confirm her victory, but before his hand touches a strand of her hair, Bellerophon suddenly gives him a fiery aura that makes him tremble. Nonetheless, he invites them to the top floor to see the arena's owner. The MC then turns his head to Raquel, who is also giving off a fiery aura, which scares him even more. The MC directs them to what looks to be a lift. Apparently, they use this equipment instead of using the moving magic. As they arrive at the top floor, there they see the arena's owner giving them a not-so-warm welcome. The arena's owner is amused by the news that the little girl in front of him won the competition and that she was able to defeat his nephew. Yes, this man is from the Asura family too. Without any further talk, he demands for the prizes. It is with much hesitation that his servant brings out the wand. It did not look as it was described, only a plain stick. But the man, Oro-chen of the Asura family, swears by his name that it's real. He also alludes that he might have stolen the wand in the first place, hence why he's sure of its authenticity. Oro-chen is quite confident that the wand will not be stolen from them, as he claims that his nephew already owns it, saying that the wand chose him already. He believes that it will be useless to hand over a wand that is already taken. Therefore, his servant takes out a bag of gold, 100,000 gold, an amount that people don't dare to dream of. He offers her 10 times the amount, 1,000,000 gold, that can only be claimed if she gives up taking the wand. But if Maybelle can take the wand out of their place, she can be its new owner. Maybelle has long decided what she wants, and that is the Roshkel Moon wand. With one more look towards her father, who nods in confirmation, she declares her choice: the wand. Oro-chen seems to be disappointed by her choice and even demands his servant to clean the wand after Maybelle touches it. He thinks that it's impossible for the wand to choose an owner apart from his nephew. With much anticipation, Maybelle picks up the wand, and suddenly, it's like talking to her. She's being asked of her wants and likes, and even pictures of her choices flashes before her. Her father, the people around her, their mansion, and even Bellerophon. As she opens her eyes, the wand has now transformed beautifully, and before her is an enraged Oro-chen demanding for the wand back. It is unacceptable for him that the wand chose Maybelle for its master, so he belittles the girl, calling her mediocre and incapable of being the wand's master. This insults her father and everyone in their company. How dare he talk ill of their lady? Khan draws his sword and Bellerophon hides her behind his back. Everyone's prepared to fight for Maybelle. Bellerophon muffles the sound with his magic as he asks Maybelle to close her eyes. They are punishing Oro-chen for belittling her. She feels different, probably warmth from the blanket of protection they give. She is already used to harsh words directed towards her, but nonetheless, she is thankful for them. Oro-chen shouts in frustration and anxiousness. He demands them not to take the wand out of his possession. Well, it's not out of ego, but rather fear. Raquel knows the wand was stolen by Oro-chen from the royal family. This flaunt revelation makes him tremble more. He even questions Raquel's identity. How come he knows too much? Now he has to pay the price for what he's done. Oro-chen is now pinned on the floor by a sword. He's being hysterical about the wand, but asked for 10 billion gold when asked how much he wants. Goes to show how greedy he is. But Maybelle opposes the idea of giving the man such an amount of gold. Her father verbally agrees, but instead of gold, he retrieves a precious magic stone, the core of Jormungand, that may be worth more than what Oro wants. But Raquel only drops the stone on the floor, letting the man chase it as it rolls away from him and vanishes. Although it seemed that he gave Oro something precious, it is all a facade. He only intends to reciprocate what he has done to them and make him suffer for discriminating against them. Upon leaving Oro-chen, who is now coughing up blood, he sees the chain wrapped around Raquel's arm. The chain similar to the person who betrayed the royal family. Could it be true? Maybelle overhears Oro's rambling that her father was the royal's betrayer. Her father asks her if she is frightened, but she is not. How can she be afraid of her very own father, the one that gives her safety? Now heading home, everyone is flying freely and happily, except for Khan. It looks like he's in charge of their orderliness and even restricts them from making too much noise. Bellerophon also seems out of it, seemingly deep in his thoughts. As they travel, Raquel opens up to his daughter about what he wants for her. He wants her to give herself a chance to develop and improve herself. He wants her to do what she wants to do, something that she couldn't do before. And he wants her to speak her mind out. He wants her to decide for herself, like if she wants to stay with them. All her life, she felt incapable to be loved and be treated like a family, but no, Claudel is wrong. She can have someone beside her, her father. Above all, she can also be a brilliant mage. So Maybelle decides she wants to help those who suffer fates similar to hers. After some time, they arrive in their town, and Khan immediately offers to get food after the long trip. As they wait for him, a boy greets her. It's Aslan. He congratulates her for her victorious participation in Yu-He. Their short talk makes the boy embarrassed as his mother teases them for being lovers. Later on, Khan arrives with lots of food for her, though Bellerophon seems to be eyeing Aslan. Another day in the castle, and Maybelle is gripping a handful of grass? And she seems nervous. What is it for? Everyone is cheering for her as she stretches out her hand to what seems to be a dragon? Everything went back to normal after Maybelle won the dragon competition 2 days ago. Well, the only thing that changed is the number of members in their family. They added another one. After the competition, Maybelle receives a tiny gift that looks like a statue of the Drake Dragon. Only that it wasn't a statue because it was moving. It alarmed Khan because of the danger it can cause, contrary to Bellerophon, who isn't bothered by it. Khan is already protesting to Raquel about the dragon, but without success as Maybelle decides to raise the creature. The Drake Dragon has since become enormous after she received it. Well, according to the maid fairies, this type of dragon can resize itself. They also inform her that to be able to work with such creatures, they must have the same sympathy. First step is by feeding it. But does it really eat grass like Maybelle seems to think? All things considered, the dragon poses a danger to the palace if it was not for Maybelle. The notorious aggressive dragon is fond of the little girl, judging by how gentle it is with her. Their connection is great, but it dawns on them that she has not yet named it. Oh, how important names are in giving identity and sharing sympathy. Immediately, Maybelle apologizes and comes up with its name, Rasol, meaning the sun. Let it be the exotic sun as it flies above the sky. Joining in, the bird that Bellerophon gave went to Maybelle to also ask for a name. She named the little one Lidere, which means the laughing sound. She showers Rasol with affection by gently patting her forehead, and behold, light appears and the dragon transforms to a small one. The transformation of Rasol has the girls giggling because of its cuteness. It seems it has not yet been able to adjust to its size as he stumbles on the ground. Maybelle looks at Rasol with much fondness and care as she picks it up. Afterwards, while in the library with Bellerophon, Mabel asks him about the Guion International Festival. The festival lasts for 7 days, and they are currently halfway through. Each day has a unique theme to avoid boredom. Mabel wants to go out with everybody, even with Abel, who is usually grumpy. It seems like she is fond of Abel, and the man beside her notices it. This results in Mabel getting embarrassed in front of Bellerophon, making her explain how Abel is to her. Thankfully, Rosol enters the room and sits in Mabel's lap. Their conversation is cut short, however, when her father, Raquel, calls her down. Well, it has been 3 minutes, and they are not allowed to be in contact in that short amount of time. While sitting beside her father, she remembers that he is bound to teach her magic. The very reason why Bellerophon paid a visit. Apparently, to use the magic in the palace, he must be around to sustain the place's boundary. Evidently, Bellerophon is way ahead of Claudel, who claims to be so great at magic. Still, how come that a person who is just 3 years older than her holds so much power and experience? Suddenly, Khan knocks to inform them that their customer has arrived. Who could it be? Khan comes by to inform the Archmage that an unwelcome and very stubborn guest has arrived at the mansion. He doesn't need to say more, since Raquel already knows who the guest is. The only person who would dare barge in uninvited is Born Kylie, who has arrived with his son today. Despite Raquel's request to have them escorted out, it appears Born has something crucial to discuss, as he is carrying a letter. That leaves him no choice but to meet up with him. He then brings Mabel along, since she wants to come with him. While walking, she can't help but notice how her father refuses to talk about anything related to the royal family. That's interesting. Now this only makes the rest of us curious. Her curiosity makes her consider whether to ask about what happened between her father and the royalty. She wants to know more, but Born is already waiting for them. Raquel notices that he's alone, so he proceeds to ask about his son. Born assumes he's interested in his son and suggests they match their children to become a couple. However, Raquel clearly objects to this idea. Born then assures him that his son is waiting outside the mansion to not anger him. In reality, he dropped by unexpectedly because he enjoyed a pleasant time with his son and wanted to deliver the letter from the royal family. It's not an invitation, but rather a restraining order to repatriate. The king will only allow Raquel to come to the capital and won't let him out of the kingdom. The moment he opens the letter, a chain wraps around his wrist out of the blue. Although he's not hurt at all, Mabel hurries to him with concern. Additionally, Born reassures her that the chain won't harm her father. However, it will prevent him from leaving the capital, just like it does for Born. As a power move, the royal family chained all the superheroes and extraordinary ones of the country by contract. Therefore, they wouldn't have the right to refuse if they were summoned. It is impossible not to come. Disobeying this order means that they will lose something valuable. That's the reason why they must attend the royals' ball. Moreover, on the last day of the festival, the ball is arranged in the imperial city. It's the most beautiful place because the flowers and stars will shine together. The reason why the king would chain all the superheroes and extraordinary ones is because they are too powerful to handle. Among all the people chained by the contract, Raquel is the most powerful. He can turn the land upside down easily whenever he wants to. Shortly, Raquel signals Khan to bring Mabel to the garden since he has to discuss some stuff with Born. As they arrive in the garden, Khan excuses himself for a while, so she is alone now. Momentarily, Born's son arrives unexpectedly, which surprises her. He seems to know her because of his father. Admittedly, he has been wanting to meet her again because he keeps thinking about her. Aslan, the eldest son of Duke Born Kylie, then formally introduces himself since Mabel is clueless about him. For her, nobles have such detailed and perfect manners, and most of them always disregard others and will never lower themselves. However, Born had brought vegetables that he grew himself. Aslan then proudly explains that it's his father's hobby and special talent. Anyway, he's waiting for her to accept his greeting, expecting her to introduce herself as well. He then extends his hand towards her as a sign of respect. Just when Mabel gives her hand out, someone interrupts them. Bellerophon arrives in time to remind Mabel not to give her precious hand out arbitrarily. He believes that it's going to be a big problem and even considers Aslan's actions as rude. However, in Aslan's defense, he got her permission earlier. Mabel then introduces her father's disciple to Aslan. Based on what his father said before, Bellerophon is an unscrupulous person who is always cautious and friendly. Aslan quickly apologizes for roaming around the mansion since he's supposed to be in the lobby. Bellerophon then gives Mabel a cape after noticing she's quite cold. Now, Aslan feels guilty for not knowing her current situation. He looks devastated that he did not notice immediately. Afterward, Khan arrives with tea. As soon as he sees Born's son and notices the energy is off, he blames himself for not welcoming the guests thoughtfully. Now that everybody is gathering in the garden, they proceed to enjoy tea together, expecting that the master's conversation is going to take a while. However, Raquel arrives promptly and Bourne follows. Standing side by side, the father and son similarities catch Maybelle's eye. Bourne jokes about their shared handsomeness, and she reluctantly agrees. In truth, Raquel is actually the most striking person she has met until now. Aslan is like the midday sun, radiating brightness, in contrast to Bellerophon, who exudes a gentle moonlight glow. Suddenly, Raquel's expression turns icy, so he interrupts, asking his daughter which of them she finds more handsome. Someone is jealous. As soon as Raquel asks a simple question, Maybelle starts to feel pressured. In the end, she chooses her father. Her father being strict and petty is so funny to me. Raquel is quite pleased with his daughter's answers, looking extremely happy despite his serious expression. Bourne comments that he can hardly recognize Raquel just now, so Khan explains how Maybelle deserves to be loved and adored. So even though Raquel is most famous for his cold personality, treating his daughter like that is a natural thing. Meanwhile, Duke Bourne is treating Khan like his little brother. In his defense, he is just thinking about him as the boy he saw in the war before. Just because Khan's ethnicity characteristic is that they grow up all at once instead of gradually, there's not much difference in their ages. While they're talking about it, Maybelle immediately thinks about Abel. The strange thing is that she can't imagine him quickly growing tall like Khan. Shortly after, Aslan comments that he finds her adorable. He then steps forward to greet Raquel formally. Raquel notices that Aslan clearly refrained from referring to him as the former head of House Cyclamen. Aslan admits that he is aware that the Archmage does not want people to address him as such, especially since ignorant people tend to use the title to mock him. Before he can say more, Raquel stops him. Using his magic, Raquel physically moves Aslan from his line of sight, claiming that he's blocking the view of the garden. Aslan is at the tree connecting to the big hallway in the garden. To lighten up the mood, Bourne changes the topic to the ball. Since Maybelle has to attend the upcoming ball, he suggests they all come together. The Duke then whispers something to her. He tells her that usually Raquel does not stay long during events like this. However, this time, the Archmage plans to stay until the fireworks show just so Maybelle can experience it. The idea of seeing fireworks for the first time excites her to no end. Eventually, the Duke decides to head off with his son. The Kylie family then bid farewell to the Cyclamen family. With that, the guests who had shaken the mansion have now officially departed. The following day, Raquel shares with Maybelle that they're going shopping. Khan catches them talking about the ball, which reminds him that he hasn't considered that the young lady needs new clothes for the ball. Maybelle recalls that around this time, Claudel and her fake mother would shop for expensive clothes, accessories, and shoes. Maybelle realizes that she needs new clothes for the ball, but she's not thinking about it that much yet. The Florence sisters, on the other hand, are excited about her getting the most fantastic costume. Shortly, the sisters express disappointment after Raquel decides to bring Khan and Bellerophon along instead of them. Soon after, they begin getting ready to leave. Since Khan is quite concerned, he suggests buying the whole store instead. However, she disagrees with his plan because she already has a lot of clothes at home, and she only needs one for the ball. Maybelle's pure and humble heart hopes for her happiness. However, no matter how big her heart is, it will never compare with Raquel's love for her. Now it's time to go shopping. In the carriage, Bellerophon informs her that Rasol, her pet, was crying earlier because it couldn't follow her. Although she wants to take it with her, she knows that she can't since it would stand out in the capital. Indeed, she's a softie. I love her. Bellerophon agrees, especially since the archmages are disappearing and all the fake mages are spreading. As soon as they arrive in the capital, they proceed to one of the top 3 biggest clothing stores. The huge place and countless clothes leave her in awe the moment she steps inside. After looking around, Khan suggests going to another store to continue if the items there are not satisfactory enough. Meanwhile, Maybelle is trying on a hat that she finds cute. As soon as Khan and her father catch her, they request to gather different hats. Moreover, they plan to buy a lot of clothes for her that she can use in the future. On the other hand, Bellerophon is just beside her, trying to reassure her that they won't do anything too exaggerated. But then again, it's his first time seeing his master choose something with so much care. Normally, the archmages will use gemstones as currency. As soon as the shop manager knows about this, he proceeds to present them with a special design. Maybelle eventually gives up because she can't stop her father from being extra. Shortly after, Khan suggests going to a famous dessert restaurant just in front of the store. Since she wants to go out for a while, Bellerophon accompanies her. Upon seeing the cakes, Maybelle immediately drools over them. She happily orders one and hesitates for a second because it's too pretty to eat. But she decides to bring it home so that the Florence sisters can also enjoy it. She's too cute for this world. Ugh! On their way back, she questions why Bellerophon looks so gloomy. He then admits that he isn't fond of the ball or anything arranged by the royalty. However, being with Maybelle is fine with him. He expresses appreciation for her care and concern. Suddenly, a bird lands on her hand, its cuteness reminding her of Laura's words that nothing is more powerful than cuteness. In the middle of the alley, a kid makes a scene and accuses Maybelle of being a thief who stole his wand. His behavior catches her off guard and scares her while Bellerophon is trying to stop himself from attacking him. She tries to defend herself, however he's threatening her now. Bellerophon reminds her to only listen to beautiful words and stories, and he will listen and swallow the evil ones for her. Just as he is about to use his power, Raquel arrives. However, the kid doesn't show any respect towards him as he tries to attack him. Ugh! This is the result of bad parenting. Before he comes anywhere near him, he uses his power to turn him into a frog. Shortly after, they proceeded to head back. Raquel carries Maybelle, and she tells him to bring back the kid because she wasn't hurt at all. But her father insists that even though she doesn't feel sad about the incident, that does not mean that he will let everything slide that easily. As Bellerophon has said, she only needs to look and hear the good things until she grows taller than her father, which is impossible. Maybelle happily thanks Raquel for getting upset on her behalf. Now, she is determined to be stronger than ever. She wants to be an excellent archmage, be more divine as soon as possible, and be as strong as her father. No matter how strong Maybelle becomes, her father will still worry for her. Raquel advises her that if she wants to be stronger and has the will to move forward, then she has become a better person than the previous day. If she wants to become an archmage, she can experience it. Before they come inside the mansion, her father shows her a scene with a huge house surrounded by flowers. Maybelle's wand contains flowers, and she can create the same scenery once she becomes an archmage. Surely, it will take a lot of practice, but Raquel will show her whenever she wants. Afterward, Laura is surprised that Maybelle is unable to buy a single thing. Before the Florence sisters can react more, she explains everything that happened earlier to them. Despite what happened earlier, she isn't affected and is completely fine. She is surrounded by people who love and care for her, so she's feeling good. Aw, I love how she's treated like a princess by everyone. The Florence sisters start to worry since there are only 2 days left until the ball. Raquel arrives just in time to inform them of another way to buy a dress through Renzo, the wandering businessman. He's a man who uses a needle to do magic. For mages, a wand is a must, but it can be substituted by other stuff. Moreover, he is in between a human and a goblin. Speaking of Renzo, a door suddenly appears out of nowhere and someone knocks on it shortly after. Maybelle then insists on opening it, so she asks permission from her father. Since there's nothing dangerous, he allows it. As soon as she opens the door, an old man appears and greets everyone. Renzo has been at the mansion before, but this is his first time being allowed to visit gently without getting kicked out. He quickly apologizes for the late greetings and proceeds to introduce himself as an artist and a businessman. In turn, Maybelle introduces herself, even though he already knows about her without the introduction. He also notes the strong magic power hovering around her. He's a businessman who sells everything, so he can provide whatever they need. Raquel then requests the most beautiful costume. Renzo then starts a conversation with Maybelle about fairy tales. He even asks her to show him the wand that she usually brings along. Upon seeing her wand, he recognizes it quickly as Rosakel's moon. Its purpose is to destroy things like fire or thunderstorms until the wand is out of strength and doesn't serve its owner anymore. That explains why it can't be used right away at the moment. Shortly, he finishes the costume, which suits Maybelle well. She absolutely loves it and regards the dress as the best gift she's ever received. 2 days later, the Florence sisters glammed her up for the ball. They create a pretty and cute hairstyle for her. All of them are mesmerized by her beauty. Now that the sun has already set, it's time to leave. The evening is about to begin, and she's already anticipating what will happen later on. I really hope nothing bad happens to her. Fingers crossed. As Khan escorts her outside, she sees Bellerophon waiting by the carriage, greeting her with his hand held out. Unfortunately, Bellerophon is not coming along, but still, her special day is also his special day. As he guides her inside the carriage, he reminds her to have fun. As soon as Raquel arrives, they leave right away. Only the two of them will attend the ball since the appearance of the Archmage family is the reputation of a whole clan. The rule is that when they arrive at the Royals' Wall, they are not allowed to bring any assistance. Raquel reminds her what to do in case she has to use the wand, just like when she woke up the golem. However, if she's in danger, she can use the magic to attack or to protect. The transfer magic is also good, and her biggest magic is her father. If she's ever in danger, all she has to do is call her father. Upon arriving, they are greeted by the enormous Royal Wall and Pin, the second-generation Archmage of the royalty who clearly intends to mock Raquel. After a brief show of strength on Raquel's part, the messenger mage is shaken enough to continue with his instructions. Before anything else, a magic test will commence. All of the archmages have to go through a magic test to come inside the palace. He has to be away from Maybelle until the test is finished. Uh-oh, that's probably a trap. Raquel is hesitant, but Pin swears that he will ensure his daughter's safety. Since he has no choice, he reminds her of the advice he gave earlier. Afterwards, Pin guides Maybelle inside the castle. As she follows him, she wonders why the Empire wants to restrain her father so much. Upon arriving at the flower garden, he requests that she stay put and wait for a while. And just like that, he disappears swiftly, leaving her on her own. The garden is quite creepy, so she contemplates calling her father. However, Raquel said earlier that he wouldn't be gone for long, so she decided to wait instead. Moments later, a shadow of a man appears in the garden, demanding to know who she is. A man with red, bloody eyes appears out of the blue. Maybelle begins to tremble, and right on cue, Bellerophon, in the guise of a bird, arrives. Upon seeing her wand, the man recognizes it and comes near her. He thinks that the daughter of the person he wants to control most, who is the owner of Rosakel's moon, would be an interesting ingredient for his plan. Hold on, what does he mean by ingredient? Shortly, he disappears, and Maybelle wants to call her father using the wand. However, she still can't use the magic. Bellerophon tries to communicate with her through Lily, the bird. She asks him for help, wanting to go to her father. However, Bellerophon doesn't know about the place, and she can't control her mana no matter how hard she tries. Fortunately, the magic isn't sealed, since she can feel the magic power. As soon as Maybelle mentions the man who scared her earlier, Bellerophon starts to worry more. It seems like he knows about the man based on his reaction. Bellerophon asks her to describe the scenery around her so that he can help her. Standing at the entrance of the garden, she describes that she is in a place surrounded by statues. From that statue, Bellerophon instructs her to turn right and walk. After following his instructions, she sees a building and proceeds to go inside. Upon entering, she encounters Pin, who has been looking around for her. However, she expresses dismay towards him for leaving her in an unfamiliar place all alone. Now she doesn't trust him anymore. As she should, he lied to her once anyway. Shortly, Maybelle feels her power coming back. As soon as Pin attempts to reach for her wand, Raquel appears. He quickly checks on her and then proceeds to deal with the Archmage afterward. Before Raquel punishes him, he quickly explains that he has no other choice than to do what he was told. He is simply doing a mission he was assigned to, so there was no way else. Pin begs to spare his life, however Raquel punishes him anyway. Meanwhile, Maybelle witnesses everything while being carried by her father. To be fair, he took her to a strange place and scared her, so she didn't think that her father was cruel for punishing him. She then apologizes for worrying him, but he assures her that it's fine. In fact, Raquel is thankful that Maybelle is his daughter. Shortly after, they decided to go back immediately. While on their way out, Raquel and Maybelle teleport near a group of archmages performing some sort of summoning magic. The archmages try to erase the magic circle in panic, but Raquel pays no attention to whatever they're trying to do. As father and daughter proceed to the next destination, Maybelle takes this chance to tell him what had happened earlier. She tells him that she met a strange man and that his presence made her helpless. Her father praises her for having the courage to summon him, even though the strange man froze her mana. Our little Maybelle has come a long way. Maybelle also gives credit to Bellerophon for leading her way, as it seems he knows the place very well. He tells her that she'll understand why. Could it be that Bellerophon is related to royalty? It would make sense as to why he really loathes anything related to it. As they spot the next entrance, Maybelle hears a song. Hand in hand, they reach the ballroom. It's full of merry songs and sparkling lights. People are dancing below them. She's excited to join the party. They make a grand entrance when gold sand places them down to where the people are after the announcement of their names. It doesn't take long until the people around them start whispering to each other. Maybelle hears everything. They regard her father as a monster living in an abandoned area. They don't understand how the Emperor could have invited someone like him. The little child starts feeling gloomy again, so Raquel grabs her hand once again, reassuring her that he's fine and to stand proud as she's not alone anymore. He recalls the first time they met. From then on, it'll always be the two of them. He won't leave her again like the past 10 years. Just as Maybelle is starting to feel at ease, the Emperor takes everyone's attention. The ceremony finally starts. This day commemorates the day when the Empire was established and when the Archmages swore loyalty to the Emperor. Maybelle gulps as she finally finds out that the bad guy that she met earlier was none other than the Emperor himself. Raquel notices her discomfort and tells her that she has nothing to be afraid of, not even the Emperor. The whispering doesn't die yet as they also take notice of Maybelle. They can't believe that the monster has a daughter. The Emperor recalls that this is also the day he made a covenant with the rulers. He gives all his attention to Raquel, asking if he's glad to see him. Raquel answers his question coldly. This indicates that Raquel is the archmage he meant. The two exchange cold-hearted answers, which doesn't help with the growing whispers in the crowd. Meanwhile, Maybelle looks at her father in worry. She is certain that the Emperor is a bad man. The latter gets up from his throne and makes his way towards them. His red blood eyes intimidate her, but she stands her ground. Don't worry, Maybelle. Daddy is there with you and will protect you no matter what. The Emperor cockily asks them if they'll greet him now that he has made his way just to get close to them. Maybelle recalls Khan teaching her how to greet royalty and that she is the Archmage's daughter, no matter what. Raquel takes the initiative, naming himself as the Northern Land Protector. Maybelle follows her father's example, calling herself the Archmage's daughter. With the Emperor's command, a group of Archmages enter the scene and make a golden magic circle. Raquel explains that the golden magic circle is part of the ceremony. What is being performed right now is the ritual wherein the heroes of the past are to be tied by the covenant once again, to swear loyalty to the Emperor. Maybelle sees this as being like a bird trapped in a cage. She's not wrong though, I agree that this is kind of selfish. The heroes are now to step inside the magic circle. Raquel lets go of his daughter's hand, and as he takes a few steps closer to the circle, he tells her to eat some sweets as the ritual is not something a child should see. Khan advised him to have her eat sweet stuff as it can comfort her all throughout the ritual. He assures her that it won't take long, and he promises to show her her mother's portrait once the ceremony is done. OMG, we finally get to see what Maybelle's mother looks like! Maybelle looks like a carbon copy of her father, so it's hard to tell what kind of features she has in common with her mother. 8 heroes, counting Raquel and Mr. Bourne, stand inside the magic circle, with the golden chain surrounding them. Maybelle doesn't understand why it has to be in front of a huge crowd. She thought the party would be full of fun, but this wasn't what she was expecting at all. To make matters worse, Claudel spots her. Ugh, the timing. Maybelle seems to be taking it rather well. Claudel boasts that he was invited by the Emperor as he is a candidate for a new position to be a priest. He then tries to belittle her, telling her that he had met with his friend and that she had cheated her way to get that wand. Before saying anything, Maybelle recalls that if she was the same as before, she would have a hard time maintaining eye contact with him. She stands proud and resilient this time and makes a confident rebuttal. I love the newfound confidence. Maybelle isn't afraid of Claudel anymore. She is now aware that all he does is drag other people down to make him feel good about himself. Well, she wasn't going to have that. She finishes off by saying that he can continue living like that as he pleases, then congratulates him on his candidacy. She swears that she's going to get stronger from now on, and that she'll have no interest in whatever he's going to be. Ha! I loved the look on Claudel's face with this one. A part of the ceiling falls down, but luckily, thanks to Raquel, no one gets hurt. He then turns to his daughter, mouthing something she can't make out. Aslan, who appears behind her, tells her that her father wants her to run to him. Apparently, someone is using magic to limit the auditory sense. Without further ado, Maybelle rushes to her father in the huge crowd. Suddenly, up in the air, she finally spots him and then gives him a big hug when they reunite. The Emperor didn't like the sight of it. It was Raquel who had destroyed the part of the ceiling earlier, as he threatened that he would turn the castle into a crumble if he didn't let them leave. The covenant is finished, despite the Emperor's claims that he had ruined it. The latter can't do anything anyway, as Raquel was right. The ritual was fast and, most importantly, done. Before heading home, Raquel wants to take a quick detour with Maybelle. They then vanish into thin air, leaving the crowd and the Emperor behind. The smooth exit they made brought them outside the castle and up into the beautiful dark sky. Raquel tells her of the original meaning behind the founding festival. Back then, mages engaged in a covenant ritual voluntarily, demonstrating devotion to the nation's leader. That was a long time ago, but he is relieved that there is at least one thing that never changed, and that was the after-night festivity. Common people gather outside with bright lights, and from where Maybelle and Raquel are, they look like beautiful stars gathered and flying toward the Imperial Castle, according to Maybelle. Raquel tells her that he and Galatia, Maybelle's late mother, used to watch the scenery together. She even said the same things Maybelle had said about the crowd. As the magnificent fireworks pop in the air, Raquel promises that whatever his daughter wants, he will grant it. He then showcases his magic through the fireworks. Maybelle didn't think magic could be used like that. He then remarks that magic used to be something that helps humans. However, he insists that this is a story for another time. Raphael thinks his daughter has a potential for flight magic, as it was seen during the dragon game and when she was looking for him at the party earlier. But then again, even if she isn't able to do such magic, he will still love her the way she is. Yes, this is the fatherly love she deserves! Eventually, father and daughter arrive at a temple. This is the place where Maybelle's mother used to be a long time ago. Are we finally getting crumbs of the mother's backstory? The temple is not too far from the Imperial Castle. As Maybelle knows, the greatest Imperial mage assists the Emperor nearby and takes care of Imperial affairs, the priest, and their residents. Could it be that Galatia used to be the Emperor's direct assistant? Ever since Galatia passed away, Raphael never came back to the temple. However, he thinks that now would be a good time to show his daughter where she used to live. They'll have to wait another year to see the place again, as this time of year is close to her death anniversary. Using spirit magic, Raphael brightens up the dark pathways of the temple. This makes Maybelle feel warm inside. Spirit magic was Galatia's specialty. There are traces of her left behind in the temple. Some of the spirits take form into many forms of nature, such as fire, water, and even some wind spirits in the shape of birds. Raphael takes his time diligently explaining everything about spirit magic, and this makes Maybelle look at him in total awe. Raphael decides it's finally time to go home. Maybelle thinks it was a great trip, especially because it was with him. Maybelle wasn't able to see Galatia's portrait, but she felt the traces of her in her heart. The artist actually showed what Galatia looked like in the last part of the chapter, and gosh, Maybelle didn't inherit the colors of her eyes and hair, but the facial features literally have a 101% similarity. She also has elf ears? Maybelle is back in the Northern Manor. It has been 2 days since her arrival back at home. Lasol, her dragon companion, sits in her lap asking for attention. Bellerophon had told her earlier that if she nurtured him from that form, Lasol would grow up much healthier and stronger than the last time. It's time for the Florence sisters to show up, but none of them are here. Maybelle doesn't like eating alone, so she decides to look for them in the manor. She looks around the areas that she's familiar with, but to no avail. She even shouted their names and Candace's too. The only places left are the first floor and the basement, but she's sure that the latter is always empty. She decides to look at the first floor. To Maybelle's delight, she sees Albert. It's been a while since we last saw this cutie fox boy. Bellerophon also comes out of nowhere and informs her that it's her birthday. Maybelle never really celebrated her birthday, so this was new for her. He then leads the way to where her party is being held. Everyone is there at the central garden. They were preparing all the things Maybelle liked, such as sweets and some food. The cake is even huge and has a giant carrot in front of it too. Her father is there as well, commenting that she's late. Maybelle has tears in her eyes as she recalls the first time she arrived at this manor. She thought that she would have to leave eventually. She never thought she'd be treated nicely and more than she could ask for. Hugging her father, she's thankful for the events that happened and for the love they all gave her. Maybelle is now 11 years old. Days ago, exactly on the day of the founding festival, Albert tried to remember what he had heard from the Florence sisters on what color Maybelle's dress was going to be. He wants to surprise her by matching with her, proving himself to be better than Bellerophon. As he tries to look for Maybelle, Raphael stops him in his tracks and has him guard the manor while they go out for the founding festival. This devastates Albert, as he is really looking forward to spending the days with Maybelle. During the days Maybelle was out, he spent time cleaning the house and maintaining the peace in the manor walls. When they are finally back, Albert has been avoiding Maybelle up until her birthday. When Maybelle cries while recalling her first time in the manor, Albert cries with her while hugging her, much to Raphael's distaste. Everyone is outside the manor's walls, enjoying the perfect weather. Maybelle had grown taller by a finger's width since last winter. Today, they plan on turning the whole field into a vegetable garden. Raphael hears Maybelle's plans to plant a row of fairy grass, so he quickly teleports and comes back with a huge bundle of its saplings. Ugh, to be spoiled like this. Maybelle also plans on planting carrots too, since Laura told her it can help her grow fast. Albert doesn't think so. He thinks that eating plenty of meat would help her more. He then gives her a super sweet candy, and since her hands are dirty, he feeds her directly. Unfortunately for him, Raphael appears right behind him as he's caught in the act. The entire time, he doesn't leave Albert's side so that he can't have time to get near his beloved daughter. Khan and the Florence sister listen to Maybelle's plea to help her grow faster. They advise that she should eat well and exercise some more. Most importantly, to always think happy thoughts. Maybelle is determined to grow up. Aw, I want her to be small and cute forever! Raphael and Khan discuss how to plant the fairy grass. But then Maybelle has them take a break for a while. The open field used to be the drill hall. Raphael was more than happy to give up the drill hall for his daughter's garden. They spend the whole day preparing and planting what needs to be planted. With a little magic and effort, Maybelle finds satisfaction in tending to her newly made garden. Khan praises Maybelle for her consistency in doing her tasks. His master, Raphael, would say that a powerful mage needs a healthy body and stamina to support their mana. So in a way, this is like training for her. Most mages receive mana as soon as they're born. Since Maybelle's case is different, she feels the need to keep up for lost time. Maybelle then observes that Khan is good at teaching. Apparently, Khan used to teach villagers things like gardening. He also met Raphael in the same place where he used to teach. He was driven off by the people from that place. However, he doesn't tell Maybelle why, but it might be mentioned again in the future. Raphael appears and asks if they're done for the day. A delighted Maybelle then floats towards him and hugs him. By a split second, she then becomes conscious if she's sweaty, but her father doesn't seem to mind. He casts a spell to clean her up. Albert offers her a glass of water, but ever the protective father, Raphael grabs him by the collar and forbids him from getting close to Maybelle for the 13th time. Poor boy just wanted to get close to Maybelle because she's so cute. I feel you. Day by day, Maybelle is getting stronger and learning new things at her pace. At the library, Maybelle takes a handful of books and places it in front of her father. She'd like to read everything, as she is determined to be a great mage like him. Raphael doesn't like the idea of Maybelle carrying books, as they can be dangerous. He tells her not to carry anything that is heavier than a feather. This made me chuckle a bit. He really is an overprotective dad. Bellerophon enters the library. He has also grown from the last time. Dang, these kids grow fast! Both Raphael and Bellerophon notice Maybelle's progress. Her mana may still be faint, but it's better than last winter. She compares her father's teaching style to her adoptive parents. The latter just gave her trauma and made her feel bad about herself. Raphael asks her to take out her wand, so she wonders why, since wands weren't supposed to be used by beginners. Her father sees her potential, as her mana is great. All she needs to do now is to control it. Maybelle focuses on the source of her mana, which makes her feel warm and ticklish. She envisions beautiful pink flowers around her, just like her wand's appearance. Her wand speaks to her again. Maybelle is alone with her wand. It shows her countless possibilities of what she can do. Her wand asks her again what she truly wants. She is brought back to reality by her father, with the same thing her wand told her about the possibilities that she can do. Aiming at the window, she emits a rather strong energy, and boom! She makes the wall crumble to pieces. The first thing that comes to her mind is her worry about the damage. Khan applauds her for that powerful blow. He remarks that it's as if he's watching his master in his youth. Her father has no doubt that she'll be an even greater mage than he is, as she is his and Galatia's offspring. The confidence in his words would give me power. Praise me too! Maybelle realizes that thinking about formulas, which was taught to her in her past house, has been distracting her from her potential. All this time, magic was supposed to be natural for her. Magic is also vast and has many properties, so she can master any type she sets her mind to. Galatia was a priestess, so Maybelle also wanted to use the same magic her mother used, spirit magic. She looks at the crumbled wall and thinks that it isn't what she wants. The wand speaks to her again. Before Maybelle can finally decide on her path, a knock is heard. Dang it! I wanted to know what she decided on! It's pretty obvious though, but I want to see it in action and what she actually does. Albert interrupts them as there seems to be a guest waiting outside. Khan checks who it is and comes back with the conclusion that it may be best if Raphael meets them personally. Apparently, they're guests from Atata. It's an unusual word for Maybelle, but it's because it's in the ancient tongue. Albert sits back and is relaxed now that Raphael has business to attend to. He teases Maybelle that he can tell her who the visitor is, under one condition: that she pets him. Our boy really lives up to his nature. A sly fox. Just as Maybelle is about to reach for Albert's furry ears, Bellerophon grabs her hand and tells her about Atata, much to Albert's dismay. Atata is where Khan and Albert are from. The guest must be a messenger sent from there. Atata is also an ally that swore loyalty to Raphael. Finally, some Khan and Albert backstory, maybe? Bellerophon thinks it's rather weird for Albert to stay behind and not greet the guest, as they're most likely an acquaintance. Albert reasons that he just misses Maybelle. This only annoys Bellerophon even further and threatens to tell his master Raphael. He adds that he doesn't need to tell him himself, since Raphael always knows what's happening under his roof. Albert takes Maybelle's hand and places it on his head, taunting Bellerophon. Such a sly fox! The two boys continue to bicker for a while. Maybelle's wand suddenly speaks to her again, asking her what she wants. She wants something warm, but not too hot to cause an injury. She wants something that reminds her of spring. Poof! A bunch of beautiful and colorful flowers bloom around them. Maybelle gleefully claims it as the magic she had in mind. It's aesthetically pleasing. I hope it has something to do with healing or something and not just popping out flowers randomly. LOL. Both boys stop bickering and start admiring the flowers Maybelle just made, all the while praising her. Maybelle then takes this chance to ask Bellerophon to teach her about covenants. Her goal as of now is to release her father's restraints. I'm pretty sure the Emperor won't like this one bit. She's a sweet girl for thinking about her dad, though. Maybelle's longtime goal is to remove all the bad magic in the world, magic that causes injury and war. She's aware that it's just wishful thinking, but she also believes that miracles happen. One example of a living miracle is her, after all. People used to believe she could never do magic, yet here she is now. Bellerophon kneels one leg down and pledges that he will do everything to support her longtime goal. He also tells her that he possesses a concealed power, which he can use to protect her when in times of trouble. Hearing this, Albert also pledges to help the little miss out. Maybelle is so lucky to have this kind of support around her. I want to see her longtime goal happening too. Maybelle joins her father in meeting with the guest. The guest is a messenger from Atata, the greatest tribe of La Bestia. Like Khan and Albert, she has a pair of furry ears and a tail. She introduces herself as Vivia and makes the small mistake of staring at Raquel's daughter for too long. Raquel warns her not to stare too much as it may wear down Maybelle's cuteness. Vivia is perplexed when she hears something as silly as that from his mouth. Canis and Vivia seem to have a comfortable bond as they both exchange banters, with Canis brooding over being called a petty old man. Poor Khan. He's still hot, though. Moving on. Vivia just came on to say that they have an update from their last meeting. La Bestia and Atata are a tribe of anthropomorphs skilled in combat, so they can help clean the wasteland. Vivia proudly refers to themselves as the janitors of the wasteland. Recently, the Covenant has incited an exponential increase of monsters, so everyone has their hands full. Apparently, Covenants are forbidden because it's under forbidden magic. The more forbidden magic is used, the more monsters appear. So basically, the Imperial family's ritual to bind powerful heroes under their loyalty has led to the suffering of the wasteland. It's just this time that it's gotten worse, so they're thinking that the Imperial family is most likely working hard on something. Vivia cuts the conversation short and turns the whole mood into something more cheerful. Turns out, Albert is Vivia's fiancé. Albert appears and denies the whole thing, but Vivia pushes that it's just natural for strong beasts to date other strong beasts. Albert still denies that fact, which leads Vivia to propose to Khan, which ultimately turns her down because of their age gap. Vivia takes notice of how Albert is actively denying her advances when he just used to brush them off. She comments that it's probably because of Maybelle's presence. Raquel doesn't like this one bit, so he orders Vivia to take Albert back to Atata right this instant. Albert desperately begs his master not to mean it seriously. Now I get why Albert isn't too excited about meeting Vivia. Maybelle is out in the garden, tending to her plants. Vivia appears out of nowhere and greets her with formality, to which Maybelle assures her that she doesn't have to. Vivia turns into her super friendly side. She promises to only let this side out when it's just the two of them. The little miss just stares at her fluffy ears and tail, tempted to touch them. Maybelle asks why Vivia calls her dad king, so the latter explains that he is also the ruler of the northern forest as well as the wasteland. Out of the three rulers, Raquel is deemed to be the most powerful. Vivia further explains that when Raquel first arrived in the north, the place was nothing but frozen soil. He had struck a pure white wand in the midst of the land, and thus the forest started to grow. The owner of the wand is none other than Galatia. In awe of her mother's magic, Maybelle looks around the healthy and abundant forest. If Galatia were alive, she would be the fourth ruler and she would have ruled the south. Touched, the young miss thanks Vivia as she learns more about her mother. She can't bear to ask her father about her since he would always look in pain. Vivia wonders how strong Maybelle is as she is Galatia and Raquel's offspring, so she takes her to a huge rock nearby where they can each demonstrate their strength. Of course, Vivia goes first. She's the strongest among the non-adults according to her, but she's about mid-powerful among the adults. Vivia tells her to watch closely. Just like that, Vivia makes a huge hole in the big rock. Maybelle praises her for being able to do so with just her bare fists. It's Maybelle's turn, and Vivia has her do something about the crumbled stones from the rock she punched. Like on cue, her wand talks to her again, asking what she wants to happen. Maybelle focuses on her energy. She wants something like a strike of lightning. Zap! The wand shoots out a bolt toward the sky, which Vivia and Maybelle thought was a mistake. A second later, lightning strikes down the crumbled stones and obliviates it. Maybelle praises her wand, and the wand responds happily. Vivia can't contain her happiness knowing that Maybelle is indeed the daughter of the most powerful people she has ever known. Vivia tells her to call her by her nickname, Vivi. A blooming friendship grows between the two girls. She needs more girlfriends in this story. It's so refreshing to see girls supporting girls. Vivia tells Maybelle about the Wasteland Combat Conference, specifically the Warrior Contest. This year, they plan on having a one-on-one arena. Talented and very powerful mages from everywhere will attend, as they are after the title of being the strongest, and there are extraordinary rewards, too. Vivia tries to recall this year's reward. This year's reward is the Spirit Stone. To be more specific, a bracelet inlaid with one. This allows the user to make contracts with spirits. Maybelle knows that not everyone can use spirit magic, but for something like this to exist? Every year, the winners leave one weapon in exchange for a prize, and apparently, both her parents had been winners in the past. Sounds like Maybelle would have to partake in this year's Wasteland combat if she wants this stepping stone to mastering this magic like her late mother. Everyone back from the manor comes running, as there had been a huge explosion from where Maybelle and Vivi were standing. What they didn't know was that the explosion was caused by the little miss herself. Maybelle proudly tells her father that she did magic all by herself, and that she did this to have a connection with Vivi. Raphael is surprised that both of the girls are already calling each other by their nicknames, which makes Maybelle admit that she always wanted to have friends like Vivi. Everyone else gives her their own nicknames too. I can finally address Bellerophon as just fun. I'm so happy. Raphael also gives her Kiel, a name only Galatia could call him when she was alive. But of course, Maybelle prefers to call him Dad. Maybelle always learns something new about her newly found friend Vivi. She's a mix of a rowdy yet mature sister. Because of her, Maybelle gets to see new expressions on Albert's face. Days later, it is finally time for Vivi to go back home. Vivi asks Maybelle if she's going to attend the Wasteland combat, but Maybelle is still 50-50 about it. The former is optimistic that Maybelle will be going. As Vivi runs off back home, Maybelle looks at her with admiration. They're only 4 years apart, but Vivi already seems like an adult. She already achieved a lot as a child. She wonders if she'll be like Vivi 4 years from now. But at the same time, she wonders if her dad will love her less if she grows more. Don't grow too fast, little miss. We want you to stay as cute as you are right now. Maybelle opens up the topic of being in Wasteland combat. Both her parents were winners in the past, and Maybelle wonders if her late mother is the one who left the Spirit Stone. Raphael thinks it's a low possibility. He doubts the Imperial Palace would have let Galatia's things be given up just like that. He has her staff in the house, but it's because he risked his life to protect it from their hands, right before she died. Raphael encourages Maybelle to speak her true feelings, as it seems his daughter really wants to attend this event. Maybelle doesn't just want to attend, she wants to win. She expresses her drive to be this year's winner. Even if the Spirit Stone isn't Galatia's, she still wants to win it so she can pave her own way to being a spirit magic user. She also proudly exclaims that she's already learned his ice crystal magic. Raphael looks at his daughter in awe. She really takes after his late wife. Father and daughter discuss when they'll have to leave in order to arrive in time for the Wasteland combat. Raphael also tells her more things about the conference. Maybelle suddenly asks if Raphael went out to the northern forest to tend to the magic tree that protected the entire forestry. That wasn't the case, apparently. He had gone there to repair the magic that protected Bellerophon. As if on cue, Bellerophon enters the scene. Finally, some potential male lead lore. Raphael doesn't immediately share what his disciple's case is, but Bellerophon assures him that it's fine if it's the little miss. Bellerophon starts by saying that he has ancient magic inside of him, which he calls mana. He has her imagine that his mana is as terrible as rabid monsters that roam the wasteland. The reason why he's learning from Raphael is that only he is able to suppress the mana with his own magic. Someday, he would have to deal with it by himself. He becomes a monster if he can't harness the mana inside of him. I wonder if the Imperial family has something to do with it too. Bellerophon reassures Maybelle that he'll never be a monster as long as Raphael is well. He promises that he will never endanger the little miss. On the other hand, Maybelle is more worried that Bellerophon has been having a hard time with this mana of his. Bellerophon had heard that Maybelle wanted to join the Wasteland combat, so he asks if he could give her the prize if he wins. Before he can say more about it, Raphael warns him not to get too close to his daughter if he doesn't want him to put him on a forbidden contract. Overprotective father again. When will Maybelle's simps ever catch a break? LOL. Bellerophon then excuses himself. Raphael asks if Maybelle should learn rebound magic, as she might need it to go against the stronger mages in the conference. With no clear answer, he gets out to do something else, and they'll meet at mealtime later. Maybelle waits for the Florence sisters to come back in with snacks. The door makes a sound, but who enters is none other than Bellerophon. He wants to finish what he was supposed to say earlier. He wants Maybelle to call him Fawn from now on. The little miss just thought that she'd have to call everyone by their nicknames, but he makes points on how it just leaves only him to be called so. He also reveals his most cherished secret and hopes that it doesn't compel Maybelle to put distance between them. OMG, what could this be? He reveals that he is a prince all along. This honestly didn't surprise me, but what did is that he's the Emperor's son? I actually thought he was a brother since the Emperor looked younger than I thought him to be. Maybelle stands frozen upon his revelation as a prince, but she immediately trusts him, as he must have really been in a bad situation enough for her father to save him and take him in as a disciple. Aw, Maybelle, you're a very sweet cinnamon roll. It's then revealed by Bellerophon that it's his own father that did this to him. I knew it! He's the real monster amongst them! Bellerophon sees Maybelle as someone who helped him see the beauty of the life he hates, so in a way, he feels indebted to her. He hands her a key and asks her to be his tether one day. He doesn't fully explain what it means, but he hopes to hear her answer later on if he wins the combat conference. He then goes out through the window as the Florence sisters' food cart comes closer to the door. After that incident, Maybelle spends the next 10 days learning all sorts of magic from both her father and Bellerophon. Soon enough, it was the day before they were to leave. Aslan is their guest for today, but he's only dropping by. He shows his new sword as he announces that he's finally a knight in training and that he has joined the Imperial Order of Knights. Raphael doesn't look like he's very happy with the announcement. He has joined the order because he wants to do something for the bound heroes of this land. It's unclear what his motive is, but he remembers what the late Galatea had told him, that justice always grows from something small. Maybelle takes this chance to admit that she also wants to free her father's shackles from the Imperial family. Maybelle mentions attending the combat conference. Aslan also tells them that the Imperial family will be attending as well. This already sounds like bad news. Before Maybelle leaves, she says goodbye to those who will be left in the manor. She goes to meet with her dragon companion, who has already grown to be bigger. Both she and her father will ride on Le Sol for the journey ahead of them. Maybelle ponders about the days she spent training on different kinds of magic and how both her father and Bellerophon had helped her. She's probably halfway to Claudel, but she stops herself from thinking that. She doesn't want to acknowledge him as the goal, but she wants to go higher than that. For about 4 days, they traveled in the air. They finally arrive at the forest near their destination. They discuss Le Sol's training too, and how Maybelle is the only one who can shapeshift him by her preference. Their discussion is cut short when someone new greets them. Am I the only one who likes this new girl, even though she obviously looks like trouble? The way she just looks screams confident. The girl has blonde hair and bright emerald eyes, and she's taller than Maybelle, so it's safe to assume she's older than her. She asks Khan, Raphael, and even one of the Florence sisters if they're the Dragon's Master. Maybelle introduces herself as Le Sol's master, which in turn makes the other girl flustered. She was not expecting a child to be a magnificent Dragon's Master. Her name is Blythe Cyril from the Ashishan Kingdom. She greets Maybelle by having her do a high five with her. She calls the gesture the greeting of the Order of the Drake Knights. Another new guy appears, and Blythe introduces him to everyone as Connor, her colleague. They share introductions, and Maybelle can't help but notice Connor glaring at her father. Blythe also mentions that she saw the Imperial family's carriage on her way here, which she also didn't expect to see. Usually, they all just sponsor the conference, so it's unusual at this time for them to suddenly attend it. She also mentions that not only are they attending, but the Emperor plans on participating in the combat. Blythe reaches for Le Sol's head and pets it before Maybelle can intervene. The latter thought that Le Sol might act differently like it does for everyone. Surprisingly, Le Sol just let her pet him. OMG, Blythe might just be Maybelle's second girlfriend! She's really cool and pretty too. 3 days later, they finally arrive at their destination. There aren't a lot of people in the city because almost everyone is busy with conference registration. Just as Maybelle is walking peacefully, a dagger comes flying just inches behind her. Luckily, Bellerophon and Albert have Maybelle's back. Literally. Just before it reaches her hair, they've already gotten hold of the dagger. Some random guy had let go of his dagger, and both boys weren't going to let him go because it could have resulted in Maybelle's injury. Raphael already registered first. He's thinking that Maybelle may want to do it herself so she can see the place. She expresses delight in agreeing with him. Since this is an outing, she wants to see everything with her own two eyes. They all arrive at the registration booth and have Bellerophon, Maybelle, and even Albert register. Albert registers himself as Burr because he's jealous of Maybelle's nickname for Bellerophon. He commits to her that he will aid her in the preliminaries, which makes Bellerophon snicker. It's always funny how these boys bicker, especially Albert. Bellerophon thinks Albert is not confident enough to push Maybelle for victory, hearing that he's only going to aid her in the preliminaries. This fires Albert up and promises to be with Maybelle the entire time and to help her be in first place. They group up in the events board and see that the first challenge will be the same as the prelims last year, crushing the most golems. Both Bellerophon and Albert think that it's going to be easy while having this air of rivalry between them. The siblings arrive to find an arena boasting an exquisite exterior, though their father is barred from entry. Thanks to Galatia's identity magic, former winners are permanently exiled to prevent the rampant corruption that once plagued the games. After registering, they head to a hotel formerly owned by the committee. Her brother flashes a winner's token, securing them the top floor with 0 questions asked. Though the suite is massive, it pales in comparison to her actual bedroom. Luckily, her companion's magic transforms the space into a replica of their home, complete with a maid serving dinner. Because why settle for room service when you have a portable mansion? They learn the boys will compete tomorrow, while her turn remains 2 days away. As the sun rises, the massive crowd proves why an early start is vital. Albert and Bellerophon pass easily with scores of 31 and 32, though Albert hides his ears and tail to avoid the lingering prejudice against anthropomorphs. It's a tragic history, but safety comes first. They intentionally restrain their power to avoid becoming targets of a gang-up, playing their cards perfectly. As results go public, their average rankings keep them safely inconspicuous. Now, she waits nervously for her turn. Standing outside the hall, Maybelle is showered with encouragement, but Fawn's words carry the most weight. She will excel simply because she is the master's daughter. No pressure, just living up to a legendary bloodline while the world watches. As she walks the grand hallway alone, she feels the phantom sensation of her father's hand patting her head. He whispers that the prizes will be revealed post-match, potentially including her mother's bracelet. He even jokes about her stealing it or destroying the podium if she loses. Parenting tip: arson is apparently a valid plan B. Maybelle quickly shuts down his chaotic suggestions, resolving to win through her own effort. At the entrance, an aide promptly pins a complaining competitor to the floor, proving that questioning the results is a one-way ticket to a face full of carpet. Talk about aggressive customer service. After wishing her luck, the aide ushers her into a room thick with prejudice. The older participants glare, clearly doubting her due to her youth. Amid the cold stares, a stranger silently offers her a candy before vanishing. She waits as numbers are called, her heartbeat marking the time, until finally, it is her turn. Approaching the arena, saying she is nervous is an understatement of the century. As the final competitor, every gaze is a physical weight, though the sight of her family in the front row offers a small anchor. She never enjoys being the center of attention, but her father's reminder about the main competition keeps her upright. She draws her scepter, noting that Roshkel's moon looks different. Her father has cloaked its true form with a spell to keep her secret safe. The match begins, and fear spikes as monsters lunge. Time blurs as she struggles to choose between her father's energy bomb or the lightning magic she practices with Vivi. Before she can act, Riri lands on her shoulder, deploying a force field just in time. From within the shield, she releases a blast skyward, prompting mocking laughter from the judgmental crowd. Honestly, everyone's a critic until the sky starts falling. Seconds later, massive lightning bolts rain down, obliterating every enemy in sight. As the dust settles, the timer freezes at 11 seconds. She is the top scorer! But the cheers turn bitter in her mouth as she remembers why her brothers hold back. She has just painted a massive target on her back. Walking out, Maybelle's family showers her with praise, but she remains skeptical. She wonders if the lightning is truly her own magic or just her wand playing tricks. Her father reassures her, explaining the wand is merely a medium for her innate power. Being an Archmage's daughter, talent is simply a birthright. To exit, they use a teleportation circle that blurs the memories of witnesses. Fawn then reveals that Albert is currently wandering outside disguised as Maybelle to act as a distraction. They gather for the announcement, learning the main competition mode depends entirely on the host nation. Since ActionToon is in charge, the rules will likely be out of the ordinary. When the representative steps on stage, Maybelle is confused. She sees the person she'd met before, now meets, while others see an elderly woman. Her dad explains this is fallacy magic, though it doesn't work on Liza or Maybelle. The plot armor. The MC introduces the woman as Princess Blythe Cyril. Immediately, Maybelle's family go wild, declaring her the princess of their hearts, leaving Maybelle in a state of pure disbelief. Blythe's voice booms across the arena, instantly silencing the family's banter. With the crowd leading in, she finally drops the bombshell. This year's main event is taming. The announcement sparks a wave of confused murmuring, prompting Fawn to explain that taming is far more complex than simple obedience. Apparently, sit and stay don't apply to them. Blythe then reveals her subjects, two human-shaped demonic beasts known as Dragonians. Long thought extinct after the war, these survivors are actually test subjects from the Empire's darkest experiments. Unlike anthropomorphs, they possess a demonic essence, making them targets for ridicule and spectacle rather than sympathy. Maybelle, ever the optimist, views them simply as survivors, a perspective that catches Fawn off guard. Her father pulls her onto his lap, offering a stern reminder. To tame a beast, you must overpower it without killing it. Blythe splits the competitors into two groups with a simple, brutal rule. Any method is legal as long as the Dragonian remains alive. While the audience roars with bloodthirsty joy, Maybelle quietly resolves to just make a new friend. Amidst the chaos, she feels a piercing gaze. Blythe is staring directly at her. As her father confirms, the Princess of ActionToon is her mother's old friend. Learning that Princess Blythe is her mother's friend sends Maybelle's curiosity spiraling. Her father's claim that her mother is even prettier only intensifies her longing to finally see her. Back at the hotel, her servants swarm her with questions about winning or disqualification, until Liza intervenes to give her space. Her father then leaves her with the Florence sisters, while he, Fawn, and Con head out on business. Left behind, Maybelle spots a fox sleeping soundly on the couch. It is Albert, looking utterly dead to the world. Turns out being a body double is a high-octane nap trigger. Maybelle worries he is sick, but Albert quickly corrects her, noting that anthropomorphs don't catch human colds. He teases that the old Con would have scoffed at her medical ignorance, though the Florence sisters agree Con has certainly softened. As Maybelle continues to fret over him, Albert turns as red as a carrot. When she finally pats his head to praise his performance, he is flabbergasted, but clearly enjoys the reward. Her maids, not wanting to be left out, join in the petting session to celebrate her preliminary victory. While Albert whispers that she is the true star of the day, the main event finally looms. Bellerophon is up first. The arena is packed tighter than the Golem race, with crowds stretching so high Maybelle worries they'll miss the action. Her companion points out massive crystal-powered screens, ensuring even the nosebleed sections see the Dragonians enter up close. As the gongs bang thrice, Fawn dominates the match with a striking performance that leaves the audience screaming. Honestly, the transition of events is like moving from a sandbox to a battlefield. Fawn secures the win, marked by the red sigil of the Drake Knights. But Maybelle's joy is cut short. Spotting the Emperor on the balcony, she trembles in terror, prompting her father to cast a private force field for protection. Though an oath prevents the Emperor from casting massive magic circles here, the family remains on high guard. They exit early to avoid his presence and to find Bellerophon for a congratulatory hug. Walking through town, Maybelle braves the sight of hanging meat in the markets, refusing Liza's offer to cover her eyes. Albert soon appears, teasing her for walking instead of being carried. As they spot a shrunken griffin on a passerby's shoulder, Albert reveals that Princess Blythe is actually the world's greatest beast tamer. being a royal isn't a big enough flex. Maybelle is left stunned. How exactly does Albert possess such specific high-level intel? Noticing her suspicion, Albert explains that in his hometown, La Bestia, anthropomorphs share a primal connection with magical animals. It is through these beasts that he hears legends of Princess Blythe being the world's premier tamer. This explanation silences Maybelle's questions, especially after Liza playfully leans in to level her gaze with them. While walking, Maybelle spots a hunter selling a massive egg. Her father explains it might be a great desert lizard, but warns it only hatches if it bonds with a tamer within a strict time frame. Otherwise, it freezes for eternity. This reminds her of the small egg her father once gives her, now gives/has given, which she has entrusted to Khan for protection. Back at the hotel, the conversation turns to the Emperor. Her father assures her the tyrant is toothless within Ashinchian's borders. When he offers her a chance to go home, Maybelle flatly refuses. She's determined to prove herself. Proud of her courage, her father vanishes. She spends her day with Bellerophon and Khan as Albert prepares for his match. Curiously, Albert forbids them from watching his performance. Fawn jokes that one specific pair of watchful eyes is far more intimidating than thousands of strangers. But if one trained soldier can't handle intimidation under certain circumstances, he might be disqualified. Maybelle rests easy, knowing Albert will give his best, though Bellerophon can't resist joking that a first-round disqualification would be a permanent embarrassment. Maybelle quietly agrees. Failing on such a stage would be mortifying, so she resolves to keep her mouth shut if the worst happens. Shifting focus to the Dragonians, Fawn warns her of the arena's size limit. Only small companions like Riri can enter, leaving the massive Lanson behind. As Riri playfully pokes Fawn's head, he explains that Dragonians possess terrifying power despite their human-like appearance. When Maybelle asks if he's seen them before, Fawn's expression clouds. He remembers them from his childhood experiments under the Emperor. Admitting he isn't okay, he asks for a simple head pat, confessing he is jealous of the one she had given Albert. An elite warrior losing a psychological war over a little pat on the head. Fawn then details a strategy. Since Dragonians shatter standard spells, Maybelle has to weave wind and gravity magic together. He instructs her to visualize tying them with an invisible rope from above to control their powerful tails. Apparently, magical physics is just high-stakes imaginary knot tying. Exhausted, Maybelle retreats for a shower. At dinner, she asks Khan about her egg. He has given it to the Florence sisters, who turn pale realizing they left it at the manor. Maybelle assures them it isn't urgent. As night falls, her father appears on the balcony in his original cloak, silently handing her a mysterious scroll. Maybelle's curiosity peaks as she unrolls the scroll, revealing a breathtaking portrait of her mother, Galatea. Tracing the lines with admiration, she listens as her father speaks with pride, calling Galatea the most beautiful woman in the world. He confesses that seeing Maybelle is like seeing the woman he loves. When Maybelle wonders if she truly takes after her, he assures her she's a perfect mixture of them both. The ultimate genetic jackpot. Touched, she suggests he hang the portrait in his room, a gesture of moving forward together. On the day of her match, clear skies do little to soothe her nerves. Being the last to compete feels like a heavy weight, especially with Albert loudly boasting about his victory. While seeing Bellerophon and Albert victorious together fills her with warmth, it only intensifies the pressure. As the Florence sisters help her prepare, Scylla shares that the mysterious hatchling has tiny horns and has been hiding beneath Maybelle's dresses unnoticed. The distraction is brief. Soon, the roar of the crowd pulls her back. With thousands of eyes waiting for a miracle, she can only wonder, can she truly do it? Before the match, the audience eagerly awaits a performance by the Princess of Ashinchian. As Maybelle walks toward her seat, a Drake Knight approaches, admiring Lanson, her red dragon, currently shrunken to a cute, manageable size. The knight praises her for owning such a magnificent creature, but Maybelle quickly corrects him. Lanson isn't a pet, he's a friend. The guard apologizes just as the spectacle begins. To her surprise, the knight from before, actually the captain, soars into the sky atop a massive red drake. Blythe then takes the podium, wielding a scepter that blasts powerful energy toward the circling dragons. It is a staggering display of taming prowess, proving she can command the entire military's beast division with ease. The crowd watches in absolute fascination as the sky fills with controlled fury. After her display, Blythe turns toward the balcony, meeting the Emperor's gaze. When she asks for his thoughts, the tyrant offers his rare praise. Getting a compliment from him is probably more terrifying than facing the dragons. With the formalities finished and the tension at a breaking point, the first match is officially declared open. Maybelle takes a deep breath. The real battle has finally arrived. Maybelle enters the arena alone, her family's presence lingering only as a memory of comfort. Khan has warned her that her opponent will underestimate her due to her size, and true to form, the man sneers the moment they lock eyes. Honestly, the audacity of some people to assume small equals easy target is exhausting. To him, she is just a child playing at war. To Maybelle, magical talent is never about age or gender, but the discipline to master one's power. As the Dragonians are released, Maybelle stands perfectly still, concentrating on the flow of mana. Her opponent mistakes her focus for paralysis, viewing it as his ticket to an instant victory. He charges at her, sword raised, but Maybelle doesn't flinch. With a quick call to Riri, she throws up a shimmering force field, switching to a high utility defense mode. She times a strike of wind energy perfectly, knocking her opponent off course so that he accidentally strikes a Dragonian first. Seizing the opening, she raises her scepter, which she decides right then to name Lousy, and uses its power to lift her opponent into the air. As the man dangles helplessly, begging to be put down, Maybelle stands her ground. She instructs Riri to maintain a protective perimeter against the approaching Dragonian, ignoring the man's desperate curses. She might be a kid in the eyes of the crowd, but she has grown far beyond her years. Underestimating her is officially a high-cost mistake that this guy is learning the hard way. Her opponent's ego finally gets the better of him, leading to a swift disqualification. And honestly, he deserves it. However, as Maybelle turns to the Dragonian, pity replaces her triumph. Unlike other competitors who leave the beast battered, she feels a desperate urge to understand him. Despite his threatening growl and raised claws, the beast suddenly pauses. Looking into his eyes, Maybelle realizes why he feels different. He is just a youngling. Wanting to avoid a violent confrontation, she casts a peaceful spell. Vibrant flowers rain from the sky just as the announcer declares her victory. The sight of the fierce creature distracted by eating petals is almost too cute to handle. Nothing settles a battle quite like an unexpected floral snack. She whispers a quiet thank you for his restraint, but as she turns to leave, her heart sinks. She notices the heavy, restrictive chains binding him to the floor. The image of a young being treated like a prisoner of war burns in her mind. Her victory tastes bittersweet. She has won the match, but the sight of those chains is a loss she can't ignore. Maybelle stands in the waiting hall, signing verification papers as an organizer remarks that she is the youngest competitor in the history of the combat competition. The comment fills her with pride. Her father was also the youngest during his debut victory. Hurrying out to find her family, she nearly collides with Princess Blythe. The princess crouches down, praising Maybelle's performance earlier. Blythe speaks fondly of her friendship with Galatea, noting that Maybelle's eyes reflect her mother's presence. The woman who was once the Empire's greatest beauty. Blythe then gestures towards Maybelle's pocket, noting the mysterious egg is secretive and close to hatching. When asked what she hopes for, Maybelle thinks of her pets and Alber's stubbornness regarding his tail. She admits she wants something fluffy. Blythe smiles, assuring her she will get exactly that. When a premier tamer gives you a spoiler, don't argue. Before parting, Maybelle asks why the Dragonians are chained. Blythe's expression darkens as she confesses her loathing for the Emperor. The chains are for the Dragonians' safety. If free, they would instinctively lunge for the tyrant. Bringing them is Blythe's public reminder that her grudge has not faded. Maybelle asks once again if communicating with the Dragonians is truly possible. The princess nods, explaining it is a rare gift reserved for those with the true essence of taming. A select few, and Maybelle is clearly one of them. Blythe confesses this is exactly why she has rushed over. She sensed, or senses, Maybelle's gift during their very first meeting. It is a remarkable power that reminds Blythe of her own younger self, though she hints the gift might extend beyond just magical beasts, leaving Maybelle utterly confused. Blythe suspects this power is inherited from Maybelle's mother, Galatea, who is an elf. As she speaks, Blythe's eyes fill with a quiet yearning, recalling how Galatea once asked her to be Maybelle's godmother, an offer her father has stubbornly refused. The conversation is cut short as knights arrive to collect the princess, and Maybelle's family comes into view. Before parting, Blythe offers a final note of confidence for the finals, but with a cryptic promise: never linger in the corners. When Maybelle reunites with her family and shares the encounter, her father's pride is immense, though his eyes narrow at Blythe's warning. He suspects the princess is scheming and wants them out of the crossfire. Still, a triple victory deserves a celebration. Her father beams, declaring he is so proud of her for proving herself that he might just buy her an entire arena as a gift. The first round wraps up with a massive pile of disqualifications, proving that avoiding a kill is actually much harder than securing one. Most competitors try to beat the beasts into submission, but they quickly learn that blood only makes the Dragonian more hyper. Great strategy. Note the sarcasm. Fawn seems to genuinely enjoy the non-lethal chaos, and when Maybelle catches him looking way too amused, he just laughs. It is clear he and Albert don't actually hate each other, they just live to bicker. They both realize that absolutely no one is planning to take Albert's side during the post-match teasing, and the thought of it is enough to make them both beam. After swapping congratulations, Fawn drops some lore. The matches are simply ordered by who finishes the preliminaries first. Maybelle is shocked he knows the arena's bureaucracy, but he casually mentions he's a walking encyclopedia, and she should only come to him for answers. Interesting. As he turns to depart, she grabs his cloak for a quick good luck, and he promises to return with presents. Left alone in the hallway, Maybelle is startled when Liza materializes out of nowhere, cornering her with questions. Maybelle scrambles for excuses, rambling about how much she values their friendship, which earns her a hug so tight it is basically a wrestling move. Liza mutters about not understanding human relationships, leaving Maybelle standing there completely baffled. Gosh, everything is confusing. Maybelle clings to Liza with a lingering sense of unease, until the announcement finally summons them to the spectator stands. She finds a seat beside Khan, who is busy polishing off snacks from local peddlers. When he gestures for her to join in, Maybelle hesitates, recalling her father's strict warnings regarding the hygiene of such common street fare. However, Khan's genuine enjoyment is far too persuasive, and she eventually gives in to the temptation. When her father suddenly materializes beside her, Maybelle boldly extends the treat to him. Though he initially recoils, her quick-witted claim that she personally helped Khan prepare the food works like a charm. It seems a little white lie is the only seasoning powerful enough to make a protective father swallow his pride. To her utter astonishment, he takes a bite without further protest. The announcer soon declares a special case for the upcoming bout. Maybelle freezes when the contender is revealed to be Aslan, a friend she never anticipated meeting in such a setting. As the son of Bon Kylie, Aslan has ascended to this stage through grueling training under the Emperor's watchful eye. Though her father offers her a magical closer view of the carnage, Maybelle declines to protect her ears. Yet, as the blades clash, she realizes her father's expression has turned dangerously dark. Noticing Maybelle scrutinizing his face, her father feels a sudden urge to clarify his irritation. He reaches out to pet her head, explaining with a huff that the two competitors in the arena are acting like total blabbermouths. Instead of focusing on the victory, they seem more interested in a mid-combat chat. Down in the dust, Aslan expertly needles Bellerophon's core, refusing to back down. He knows he must step up. After all, his father is a legendary swordsman, and more importantly, Maybelle is watching from the crowd. Hearing this, Fawn becomes deathly serious. He is here for the finals, not for social hour. The atmosphere shifts instantly as Fawn unleashes two devastating spells that send shockwaves through the stands, leaving Aslan trembling on his knees. Maybelle and her companions watch in frozen horror as the dust settles. Both candidates were in terrible shape. Aslan suffers deep internal wounds after the final blow, while Fawn is drained from using forbidden magic. Since no healer was provided for Aslan, Maybelle's father begrudgingly tends to him. Meanwhile, Khan attempts to soothe Maybelle's fears just as the dramatic Albert bursts in, wailing about Fawn's injuries until Khan finally drags him away. Maybelle simply watches Fawn's sleeping form, offering a silent prayer for his recovery. Bellerophon remains adrift in unconsciousness for 3 long days, finally awakening to find Maybelle by his side. Recognizing the toll the battle took on his body, he confides that he cannot continue, offering a heavy-hearted apology. Maybelle quickly dismisses his guilt. Since he cannot compete, the upcoming match is left without a winner. As time marches on, it is finally Maybelle's turn to step onto the battlefield. Her reputation precedes her. The opponents are so thoroughly rattled by her previous achievements that they are more frightened than prepared. In a nearly comical turn of events, she secures a victory, ending the second round as the champion. Winning a fight because your enemies are too busy shaking in their boots to swing a sword is certainly one way to conserve energy. Late that night, Maybelle slips into Fawn's room and finds him devastated, his body covered in wounds. When he asks if he looks repulsive, she softly caresses his injuries, assuring him he isn't peculiar. Overwhelmed, Fawn offers her a key and pledges his eternal loyalty, promising to be her loyal beast whenever she needs his power. Soon, the final match arrives with only 6 contestants remaining. Cornered by a magical Dragonian, Maybelle recalls Blythe's warning about avoiding the edges. Caught between advice and immediate danger, she decided to summon her power and charges to the Dragonian with might and courage. The Dragonian bypasses Maybelle, charging instead toward the Emperor in an astonishing display of defiance. Rather than feeling threatened, the Emperor remains fascinated by the test subject, musing that he would have prolonged his experiments had he known they could produce such magic. While the crowd trembles, Princess Blythe watches the chaos with unsettling delight. When the Emperor attempts to intimidate her, she offers a mock apology, her voice dripping with sarcasm. She boldly exposes the Dragonians as victims of his cruelty, who have miraculously retained their human egos, challenging the Emperor to face the consequences of his own warmongering. Refusing to yield, the Emperor demands accountability for the ruined conference. He sneeringly calls upon his finest mage, Maybelle's own brother, to challenge her, claiming her victory was too short-lived to be valid. Facing her in the arena, her brother hurls insults, mocking her as nothing more than the Archmage's ambitious daughter. He strikes first with a blast of magic, but Riri shields Maybelle until the dust settles. When the view clears, Maybelle glares at his mocking face, her rage reaching a boiling point. It appears the family reunion is going exactly as planned, provided your plans involve magical assault and a side of psychological warfare. Facing her brother's overwhelming wrath, Maybelle feels a brief, stinging surge of self-doubt. Perhaps the critics are right. Perhaps she is merely the ambitious daughter of an archmage playing at power. However, the silent whispers of her wand, the Roshkel's moon, pull her back from the brink. Earlier that day, her father revealed that she had awakened the wand's soul, a companion that would grow alongside her. She reaches out mentally, asking the artifact to be her friend. To her relief, Roshi agrees, promising they will eventually reach the pinnacle of strength together. When Maybelle asks if they can withstand her brother's massive magic circle, Roshi hesitates, noting the spell's terrifying caliber. It's a fashion statement to carry a weapon that provides both existential dread and emotional support in the middle of a magical duel. Roshi reminds her that magic is ultimately a wish and a prayer. She only needs to unleash what is already within. Her brother continues posturing, fueled by the pride of the House of Cyclamen. He wields the family's signature flame spells with arrogance, bitter that their father chose the path of a winter-summoning archmage instead. The arena transforms into a chaotic volley of notorious spells as neither sibling yields. To his visible shock, Maybelle successfully blocks his most lethal attacks. Refusing to be defeated, her brother summons a final unfathomable spell. Roshi intervenes, granting Maybelle access to her true raw power for a brief, agonizing moment. Though the energy drain is immense, Maybelle unleashes a counterspell so potent, her brother cannot even comprehend it. If she cannot win, she certainly refuses to lose. Maybelle is declared the victor, but the grueling duel drains her last reserves of energy. She faints on what she considers the second best day of her life, trailing only behind the moment she first met her father and her found family. Main characters? Win the championship and then immediately take an involuntary nap on the podium. When she finally awakens, she is surrounded by worried faces. Khan presents her with the grand prize, a bracelet recovered from the organizers. Though she missed her own ceremony, her father brings triumphant news. She's officially the youngest winner in the history of the combat conference, an achievement that left the Emperor fuming while the crowd chanted her name. Instead of mourning his own broken record, Maybelle's father beams with pride. She shows him the prize, which once belonged to her mother, Galatia. Her father gazes at her softly, seeing Maybelle herself as the most precious relic of the woman he loved. This tender bonding is interrupted by Princess Blythe, who arrives with a sharp warning to ignore jealous whispers. Blythe then drops a stunning revelation. The bracelet harnesses spirit power only an elf can wield. It turns out, Maybelle's mother was the very last of the elven race. Maybelle feels a brief sting of disappointment upon learning she might not inherit her mother's specific magic, but Blythe quickly intervenes. The princess assures her that while the effects differ, the balance of power remains equal. The bracelet serves as a potent amplifier, specifically designed to multiply the strength of a tamer's talent. Seeing Maybelle's resolve, Blythe officially awakens her aptitude for taming magical beasts, a rare gift found in those with profound empathy. The following day, Maybelle discusses her training plans with her father, who insists that her wand Roshi and the bracelet must reach a state of perfect sympathy. Their technical discussion is interrupted by the Florence sisters, who arrive bearing a very familiar hatching egg. As the shell cracks, a precious pink jewel-eating fox emerges into Maybelle's palms. Albert, ever the comedian, teases that she must have been dreaming of him to summon a fox, a joke that earns him a swift exit courtesy of her father's ice and water spells. Maybelle learns of the tragic losses others have endured, and her resolve hardens to uncover the elven truth. In a rare moment of quiet, Maybelle beams at the realization that she has grown taller, a small victory amidst her rigorous sorcery training. Her joy is slightly dampened by the orders keeping Albert and Fawn at a distance while they cultivate their own strength. Yet Albert remains a rule breaker at heart. He risks a secret visit to her chambers, though their brief reunion is cut short by the Florence sisters announcing an unexpected arrival. Maybelle finds her father in the garden, where the atmosphere is so tense that the pink anemones have chilled into a sharp blue. Her father greets the guest with a masterclass in sarcasm, even using magic to play petty tricks on the man as he prattles on. Losing patience, he instructs Maybelle to shut the guest up if he becomes too noisy. Over a tense dinner, the visitor admires Maybelle's appearance, noting her as the perfect fusion of northern and southern excellence. He insists on a formal introduction to the Princess of the North, revealing himself as the Duke of the West. The Duke wanted to take her away from her father's place, as he was bound to the oath. It turns out, they were never meant to stay together in any way, but her dad knew that she will never get to her full potential if she wasn't with him, because when he had given up the place in her life before, her brother and her sister-in-law didn't get to unleash her talent or express it in any manner. It's not worth beating around the bush as he continued to blab his mouth. Maybelle spiraled, wanting to know the overall gist of the story he's so eager to tell. In short, get to the point! The Duke then proposed his course of action for the ban. He plans to take away Maybelle for her safety, and promises her father that this will be just temporary, and it's worth as a sacrifice. Just as expected, her father raised his hands for magic ready to attack. But what caught him off guard was the Duke telling him to receive his trust. To where? To the royal palace. The Duke of the West proposes a win-win scenario to return specific items to the imperial palace, though it is clearly a thinly veiled attempt at blackmail. He demands silence regarding the abduction in exchange for a favor that would fundamentally benefit both parties. Maybelle realizes that her father is typically an arrogant lone wolf who conquers challenges single-handedly. For him to accept a condition means the task is likely something he cannot achieve alone. When a man who shrugs off blizzards asks for help, the stakes have officially exited the stratosphere. The Duke swears upon his magic and his vast territories to uphold his end, forging an agreement that carries the weight of the entire magical realm. Her father grows increasingly annoyed by the Duke's constant commentary on his protective parenting style, and eventually sends the blabbermouth packing. Maybelle eventually drifts off to sleep in her father's arms until the sun dips below the horizon. She awakens to a growling stomach, and with a subtle flick of magic, her father sends an ordering spell directly to Khan. Realizing the adults still have much to discuss, Maybelle bids them a cheerful goodbye and heads back to the mansion alone. Maybelle wanders back toward the mansion, greeted warmly by Riri and her small army of magical pets. It feels as though they sensed her lingering loneliness and rushed to fill the silence. Realizing she hasn't yet named her newly hatched fox, she gazes at the creature and decides on Ig, a nod to Ignis, the ancient word for fire. Their walk is soon interrupted by Fawn, who shyly confesses how much he missed her. While his admiration is obvious, he keeps his inner turmoil hidden. He is the Emperor's son, a prince the Duke raised after his mother tragically died in childbirth. The Duke suddenly appears, playfully threatening to report their meeting to her father. However, Maybelle isn't easily rattled. She sharpens her wit and fires back, noting that her father wouldn't be pleased to see her alone with the Duke either. Her cunning catches him off guard, proving she is truly her father's daughter. Amused, the Duke reminisces about the young Bellerophon, describing a child who had the audacity to face him and send him away. He uses his wind magic to paint a vivid image of the young prince for her. Just as she is processing the tale, the Duke grins broadly, assuring her that her father will never find out about this secret meeting, because he has already surreptitiously cloaked her in a protective veil of wind magic. Maybelle realizes the conversation is shifting towards something far more significant than Fawn. She inquires about the transcendental beings targeting him, questioning if they truly aren't human. The Duke clarifies that such beings are transcendental because they exist far beyond the ordinary. Superior individuals like himself instinctively recognize that inherent difference. While he commends her incredible talent, he sharply calls her out for thanking him. He insists that talent isn't a gift to be grateful for, as it has belonged to her from the very beginning. Leave it to a Duke to turn a simple compliment into a philosophical lecture on the inherent superiority of the gifted. The Duke then drops a bombshell, warning her to sever ties with Bellerophon due to his contaminated power. Maybelle, however, fiercely defends her friend, refusing to let the Duke besmirch the people she cares about. He continues to bait her until she finally snaps, summoning her magic wand in a surge of power. The Duke notes how her magic perfectly reflects both of her parents and offers once more to mentor her. He reveals the bittersweet truth of his past closeness with her parents and his lingering grief over her mother's death. More surprisingly, he confesses how much he misses his own grandson, who is currently imprisoned in the Imperial Castle. Maybelle realizes his erratic behavior, switching between bickering with her father and being tender with her, stems from this hidden heartache. As he speaks of the giant puppet he built in the city to signal his grandson, Maybelle's doubts begin to thaw. She sees her mother's resemblance in her own wisdom, realizing that forming a mentor-mentee bond with the Duke might be the key to her growth. She is still lost in these thoughts when Raoul suddenly asks if she has ever seen his realm. The Duke extends a shimmering invitation, describing the western fields where his mansions serve as a sanctuary for countless small creatures and orphans under his protection. He muses that had her father failed to raise her properly, he would have claimed her himself, though he admits such an act would likely ignite a catastrophic war with the magicians. The Duke's attention shifts to the background, where he spots Ig. He is stunned to find a foxy, a species long thought extinct. As Ig growls and leaps into Maybelle's protective embrace, the Duke notes that such a beast isn't easily tamed. Sensing a familiar energy, he asks if she has met Princess Blythe, realizing the Transcendental's influence helped the egg hatch. He concludes that many good things are happening, not because her father desired them, but because Maybelle encouraged them. He soon presents a magic stone, teaching her how accumulating magic bits allows for the creation of tools. When the stone attaches to Ig's forehead, it reveals the fox is actually a divine beast with limitless potential. To her shock, Raoul reveals he is also a beast tamer, explaining that Ig reflects Maybelle's own magic, and she was gonna be a great sorcerer one day. After several lessons with Raoul, Maybelle's father sweeps onto the scene, his voice thick with worry. Upon realizing his daughter is unhurt and seeing the gift Raoul bestowed upon Ignis, his icy demeanor softens into a rare calm acceptance. As he lifts Maybelle to head home, she notices a shift. Her father is far more complacent with the Duke than before. Though he warns her not to like the man too much, Maybelle assures him that while she has room in her heart for many, no one can compare to him. The mystery of the Duke's extended stay is finally solved as he prepares to depart. It turns out that her mother, Galatea, had made a long-running promise that the Duke could visit and stay as long as he pleased. Watching them, Maybelle feels a surge of joy. The man who was once the meanest figure in her world is slowly opening up, sharing his free-spirited self with an old friend. However, the levity ends when the conversation turns to the royal family. Raoul warns that the royals are notoriously meddlesome, and their silence suggests they are unaware of his presence, a dangerous piece that requires they remain incredibly careful. As the Duke bids his final farewell, Maybelle reflects on how guests are like passing seasons, leaving behind only the bittersweet echo of their presence. The mansion settles back into its familiar rhythm until the atmosphere shifts with the welcome return of Bellerophon and Albert. Their punishment has finally concluded, and the group gathers to relax while her father coordinates with the Florence sisters, who are staying behind during the upcoming music festival. However, the peaceful reunion is shattered by a sudden coordinated strike. Shadowy figures lunge from the darkness, their movements calculated specifically to abduct Maybelle. Khan intervenes with blinding speed, driving the assailants back before sensing a more volatile threat, a series of imminent magical explosions. Recognizing that Maybelle's specific magic has been neutralized by the attackers' countermeasures, Khan calls upon Albert. Using his prowess as a fire anthropomorph, Albert absorbs the brunt of the blast to shield them. As the dust and heat subside, the group looks down to find a chilling omen left in the scorched earth where the shadows once stood. Her father arrives at the scene, immediately pulling Maybelle into a protective embrace. The chilling truth is quickly revealed. The assault was a calculated strike orchestrated by the Emperor himself. Relief washes over the group that everyone survived, but the peace is short-lived. During dinner, her father drops a bombshell. They are all going to the Imperial City. Khan immediately questions the wisdom of marching into the lion's den, while Maybelle protests, fearing she will be a liability. Her father silences her doubts with a tender reminder that her mere presence, her very breathing, is a triumph. He insists she is safer by his side than anywhere else, knowing the Emperor will never cease his pursuit until she is captured. Khan recognizes this as a desperate protective instinct, yet he searches for any alternative to avoid the capital's dangers. As he weighs the risks, a maid asks the question weighing on everyone's mind. Why must they walk directly into the enemy's grasp? While the Florence sisters press Khan for his reasons for wanting to leave, Maybelle and Fawn discuss the mysterious bond between her father and the Duke. It is a heart-binding magic contract, typically fatal if broken by the weak. However, this specific deal requires mutual consent to function and can be dissolved just as easily. Maybelle remains calm, knowing her father would never cast anything truly dangerous in her presence. Suddenly, her father appears and reveals who will mentor her before they depart. Albert. Though he lacks traditional magic, Albert is a master of disguise, a fox-like trait that allows one to move unseen. He points out that Maybelle now has two foxes at her disposal, himself and Ig. To bring the cub up to speed, Albert proposes a radical idea. Have Ig swallow a black gemstone. This stone, infused with dark magic, would grant the young fox power equal to his own. Either we'll have a very expensive vet bill or a very powerful ally. Maybelle worries that Ig is too small to swallow a massive gemstone, but Albert reassures her that the magical beast's capacity is deceptive. Her concern shifts to the logistics and the hilarious possibility of Ig outgrowing her. This leads Maybelle to muse about matching her father's height, an idea Albert shyly rejects. He confesses he wants to be her knight in shining armor, fearing he cannot protect her if she towers over him. Maybelle, ever oblivious, misses the romantic subtext while Albert turns a bright shade of red. Seeking clarity, Albert asks if he has a chance against Fawn for her affections. Sensing a painful truth, Maybelle delays her answers, leaving Albert in suspense while she grapples with guilt. They pivot to training, where Albert explains that the black stone now embedded in Ig's forehead allows for illusion-based hiding, provided Maybelle can forge a mental connection with the fox. The lesson intensifies as Albert unleashes fire magic, revealing they share the same elemental attribute. Though a strict teacher, Albert admits he rarely uses his fire because he struggles to control it. He confesses his terror during the royal attack. The burden of his friends' lives depending on his unstable protection left him deeply frustrated. He isn't angry at the world, but at his own perceived weakness. Maybelle reassures Albert that he was their protector during the attack, soothing his deep-seated guilt. Moved by her words, Albert finally reveals his past. He once used his fire to hurt others and sought refuge at the manor to escape that destructive cycle. When Maybelle insists he is a kind and compassionate person, Albert is hesitant to believe her, citing his lack of control. However, her persistence and unwavering faith in his potential finally ignited a spark of hope within him. The emotional weight shifts when Maybelle playfully reaches out to touch Albert's ears, a tender gesture that deepens their bond. Albert shares his fears for their inner circle safety, but the moment turns flirtatious when he boldly asks her not to get too close to Fawn, before leaning in to plant a soft kiss on her cheek. Master of disguise? More like a master of the surprise romantic ambush. The following day, the reality of their departure looms. Her father reminds her that true peace is a luxury many still lack, especially those unjustly imprisoned. He reveals a secret masterpiece created by him and Galatea, a teleportation circle capable of whisking them away to a location hidden even from the Emperor's prying eyes. The magic circle serves as a testament to Galatea's devotion, a relic from when she aided the temple's escape. While powerful, her father explains that the Florence sisters and Albert must stay behind. Maybelle is puzzled, knowing Albert's hallucinations surpass even Khan's, but the reason is strategic. Albert will disguise himself as Maybelle. His physique matches hers perfectly, making him an ideal decoy to confuse the prying eyes lurking in the forest. As the Florence sisters bid a tearful farewell, Maybelle finds herself imagining the surliness of Albert in her dresses as they step into the light. They emerge in a breathtaking sanctuary of flowers, where the very air feels like her mother's embrace. This was Galatea's promised land, a hidden garden for the daughter she loved. Discovering her mother could speak to plants as an elf, Maybelle tries it herself and is shocked to feel a tangible, sentient touch in return. As they navigate the Great Hall, a once grand meeting place for wizards before the Emperor's war enslaves or destroys them, the weight of the royal family's cruelty sinks in. Their arrival is soon met by a hooded figure. Though he was once a wizard under her father's leadership, the owl symbol on his robes sets Maybelle on edge, and she instinctively retreats behind her father's back. The hooded figure introduces himself as the manager of the sanctuary, though the shock in his eyes upon hearing Maybelle's name is impossible to hide. Despite her father's competitive scoffing about who can open doors faster, the manager expertly guides them through the preserved halls, showcasing the research wings and the cafeteria before arriving at their quarters. The Great Hall feels frozen in time, saturated with Galatea's lingering magic. A large, enchanted portrait of her mother and the other superiors dominates the room. Maybelle feels an eerie familiarity with the faces looking back at her. Her father explains that the spell used to capture these moments was created by a comrade who eventually rebelled against the Emperor. He was captured and killed, leaving Maybelle unable to ever learn his craft. Gazing at the portrait, Maybelle is struck by how the war robbed even the manager of his youthful, innocent smile. Suddenly, Maybelle sees her mother's image blink, a bittersweet trick of the light and magic. As she releases a burst of spring flowers from her fingertips, the manager admits it was the very season he longed to see. Before departing, he promises to open the back door for their exit tomorrow. Once he vanishes, Fawn reveals a chilling truth. Only spirits can enter this realm, meaning the manager's physical body remains trapped in the Imperial Mansion. The night ends with a rare, tender moment of father-daughter bonding. Sensing her father's preoccupation, Maybelle shares her childhood fears of storms and loneliness. In a rare display of soft affection, her father pulls her close and reads her a favorite storybook, shielding her from the ghosts of the past. Her father is heartbroken to learn that no one has ever read Maybelle a story, realizing he has years of missed moments to make up for. He reassures her that he will never force her to be anyone but herself. His pride in her is absolute. When she picks a fairy tale, he promises to become as great a father as he is a mage. To Maybelle, he's already there. As she fetches a pillow, the key necklace from Fawn reminds her of the vulnerability they shared. Returning to bed, she discovers a book her mother wrote for her, one her father intended to read the day she was born. Wrapped in this history, she finally sleeps. The next morning, the group prepares to depart. Maybelle wakes to find the manager holding a scepter that mirrors Fawn's necklace. She overhears a startling revelation. The manager was never a royal ally, but a loyal friend to her parents, awaiting his chance for revenge. As they finalize their strategy, Maybelle is left chilled by one question. What's the plan? Another day, another mission to save the day. Wow. Maybelle's father hesitates to reveal the full plan given their limited time, though he confirms that Galatea was aware of it before her passing. Upon arrival, they are given enchanted masks designed to make them invisible to the palace intruders. The strategy seems straightforward. Her father and Khan will create a massive diversion, while Maybelle and Fawn infiltrate the palace to retrieve Raoul's piece. Maybelle's anxiety spikes at the weight of the mission, but her father's confidence is unwavering. To him, her victory at the combat conference proved her capability, and while the mission is vital, her safety remains his absolute priority. As they approach a shrine once dedicated to Galatia, Maybelle presses Fawn for the truth behind their maneuvers. Fawn reveals the sobering reality. The current plan is intentionally flawed. While these weaknesses serve as a distraction, over-executing them would lead to catastrophic sacrifices that Galatia would have never allowed. He whispers the true, darker objective that Maybelle must keep secret. The entire diversion is a cover for her father's ultimate goal: to break the sacred promise. Maybelle is stunned to learn her father is willing to break a sacred vow, but Fawn clarifies that this has been in the works for a long time. The only thing that ever made the Archmage hesitate was Maybelle herself, but now he is no longer holding back. As they navigate the halls, Fawn saves Maybelle from stepping into magic-negating powder. She senses a familiar energy lingering in the air, one Fawn can't feel, leading them toward a magical tree on the outskirts of town. Beneath the tree lies a magic circle identical to the one Galatia used. When Maybelle touches it, a small indignant magical beast appears, shouting that she is not a horse after Maybelle calls her cute. The creature is preoccupied with a fallen hairpin, a gift from Maybelle's uncle. The realization hits Maybelle. This creature is a relative of Raoul. The confusion of a human having a magical beast for a relative hangs in the air as the creature introduces herself as Ronnie. Maybelle and Ronnie formed an instant bond, confirming Ronnie's status as the Duke's relative. However, the warmth of their meeting is quickly overshadowed by a dark reality. The mages had placed a permanent soundproofing spell on Ronnie's room, not for her protection, but to silence her cries so they could ignore her. Ronnie breaks down, recounting the psychological warfare the mages and the Emperor used against her. She was threatened with death if she escaped, and was repeatedly told she was worthless. In a display of pure cruelty, the Emperor once killed a bunny in front of her to demonstrate her fate should she ever disobey. Maybelle, deeply moved and reminded of her own lonely past, pulls Ronnie into a tight embrace. She reassures the small beast that none of this was her fault, speaking to Ronnie the very words she once needed to hear herself. Determined to save Ronnie the same way she supported Albert and Khan, Maybelle extends her hand with a daring proposal. An invitation to run away and escape this prison together. Ronnie is hesitant to leave, haunted by the belief that her uncle abandoned her. Maybelle quickly debunks this, explaining that Raoul has been searching for her for years, and even forged a dangerous bond with the Archmage to ensure her rescue. While Ronnie is skeptical, she chooses to trust Maybelle's sincerity. Maybelle even offers a backup plan. If her uncle doesn't take her in, Ronnie will always have a home with her. Their escape is nearly derailed when a loud alarm blares through the corridor. They dive into a closet, and thanks to Ig's stealth abilities, they remain invisible to the searching mages. Once the coast is clear, Maybelle asks why Ronnie looks so different from her uncle. Ronnie explains that their race doesn't take on a humanoid form until they reach a certain age. Until then, they remain as unicorns, the very creature Maybelle once encountered in the textbook while searching for her mother's origin. Panic sets in when Maybelle tries to signal Bellerophon through her necklace and receives no response. They attempt to head for the rendezvous point, only to realize they are trapped in the palace, crawling with mages. To make matters worse, the magic circles have been compromised, and Maybelle suddenly realizes she can no longer feel Ig's power. From stealthy rescue to trapped in the palace moment. Cornered by mages, Maybelle reaches for her wand, Roshi, only to find the palace's anti-magic field has rendered it useless. With guards closing in, she and Ronnie take a desperate leap from the 6th floor. As the ground rushes to meet them, Maybelle braces for the end, but Ronnie pushes through her exhaustion and flaps her wings, guiding them to a miraculous bone-jarring landing. Their relief is short-lived. Standing in their path is the Emperor. He looms over them, cold and predatory, declaring he has no intention of killing a mage as powerful as Maybelle. Instead, he intends to own her as an ingredient. The same horrific fate he dealt to her mother, Galatia. The realization that the Emperor murdered her mother fills Maybelle with rage, but her magic is stifled here. Just as the Emperor moves to seize her, Aslan teleports into the fray, unleashing a smoke spell to blind their pursuers. As they sprint through the haze, Aslan urges Maybelle to amplify the smoke. Once safe, Maybelle demands to know what he was even doing there. Aslan tries to play it cool by claiming he was just out training, but he quickly drops the act when he realizes Maybelle is still trembling. Pulling her into a protective hug, he apologizes for his lack of tact and promises to carry the burden for her, reminding her that she is a powerful mage in her own right. While the silence from Bellerophon is worrying, Aslan has full faith that he can handle whatever the Empire throws at him. Their reunion is cut short by the sound of approaching knights. Aslan insists that Maybelle use her cloaking spell to escape while he plays the part of the sacrificial distraction, pointing out that she has to prioritize Rani's safety. With a heavy heart, Maybelle flees toward her father, but the Emperor is like a shadow she cannot shake. He corners her, his eyes filled with a predatory hunger as he reminisces about how he stripped Galatia of her magic when she tried to run. He views Maybelle as his property, just like her mother. As the Emperor prepares a final, devastating blow, Bellerophon suddenly bursts onto the scene to intercept the attack. The atmosphere shifts instantly when the Emperor sees Fawn's face. The resemblance between the two is so striking that even the cold-blooded ruler is visibly shaken. The Emperor tries to dismiss the resemblance as a hallucination, but the truth is undeniable. Fawn is no illusion. Maybelle realizes that her father's protective magic is the only thing keeping them grounded, as the Emperor, losing his patience, summons a wave of black magic to seal their fate. While the Black Knights question if the targets must stay alive, the Emperor's focus doesn't waver. Maybelle pours every ounce of concentration into her barrier, shielding Fawn and the pets, desperately trying to buy time until her father arrives. But the Emperor is too fast. A dark spell suddenly snakes out, binding Maybelle in heavy magical chains. Seeing her trapped, Fawn's restraint finally snaps. To save her, he breaks his vow of secrecy and unleashes his true nature, shattering the chains with overwhelming power. The Emperor stands frozen as the realization hits. This is his son, the child he believed had died before birth. Fawn, however, feels his control slipping. He turns to Maybelle with a desperate plea, begging her to save him if he loses himself to the monster within. Fawn screams for Maybelle to flee with Rani, but she refuses to abandon him. Just as she gathers her magic, a vision of a woman appears, whispering that her father has arrived. But before Maybelle can reach him, the ground splits in two, swallowing her into a massive chasm. The moment was really groundbreaking. Get it? Okay, no. Just as the chasm threatens to claim her, Maybelle's father arrives, catching her in a protective embrace. He is haunted by his own tardiness, regretting that he hadn't simply leveled the palace sooner to spare her this ordeal. While Maybelle tries to apologize for the chaos, her father flatly rejects the notion. He is bursting with pride at her resilience. He even grants Fawn a silent pass for revealing his true lineage. If this secret were the price for Maybelle's life, it was a price worth paying. The Emperor, however, is far from humbled. He attempts to chain the Archmage, arrogantly demanding he kneel and citing ancient vows that forbid a transcendent from killing a sovereign. But Maybelle's father isn't playing by the old rules anymore. He informs the Emperor that a vow is only unbreakable until someone decides to break it, and hurting Maybelle was the final straw. The Archmage reveals that the other transcendents are currently reclaiming every hostage the Emperor used as leverage. The age of forced obedience is over. With a chilling warning that the ruler of the North has begun his revolt, they vanish. Back at the manor, the focus shifts to healing Maybelle, while Fawn battles the rising darkness within. I'm ending a monarchy because you made my daughter cry energy. The reunion is thick with relief and lingering guilt. Both her father and Khan apologize profusely for their delay, but Maybelle brushes it off, her heart swelling with pride when she learns that her father took the time to evacuate everyone before dismantling the palace. For her, his grand entrance and his mercy toward the innocent were more than enough to make up for the wait. Her father, hearing her praise, finally feels a sense of peace. He realizes that while he worried for her safety, sheltering her completely would have robbed her of the strength she just discovered. As the group prepares to head home, a shadow remains over Fawn, who is physically and mentally drained from unleashing his true form. The manager takes a moment to pull Maybelle aside, offering a prophetic tribute. Seeing her courage, he is certain she will not only uphold her parents' legacy, but surpass it, becoming an archmage the likes of which the world has never seen. The first truly free mage of a new era. The transition back to their manor is jarring. Rani is still nursing a bout of teleportation sickness, But Maybelle is already excitedly planning a tour of her home, promising they will explore it hand in hand. However, the domestic peace is shattered in a heartbeat. Before they can even cross the threshold, a massive explosion rips through the manor, turning their sanctuary into a fresh battlefield. The pieces of the puzzle finally click into place. The Emperor wasn't weak. He was simply empty-handed. His entire military force had been diverted to the northern estate in a desperate gamble to kidnap Maybelle, leaving the palace vulnerable. But the Imperial army was in for a rude awakening. The Florence sisters emerged from the forest to reveal that the fairies had already trapped the invaders in a labyrinth of hallucinations. Even in the heat of battle, a bit of levity remained as Albert stubbornly refused to show off her Maybelle clone disguise, much to the group's amusement. The sight of her home in ruins brings Maybelle to tears, but the Florence sisters quickly offer a magical solution. An archmage of her father's caliber can literally lift the entire estate and move it elsewhere. All he needs is a destination and a massive surge of energy. When Maybelle playfully scolds her father for keeping this relocation plan a secret, he gently reminds her that home isn't a coordinate on a map. It's wherever they are together. Their destination is set for the Wastelands, the rugged hometown of Khan and Albert. It turns out her father had been preparing for this move long before Maybelle joined him. The relocation isn't just a retreat. It's the first step of a long-planned uprising. Whether through peace or power, the Archmage is determined to dismantle the current society. He refuses to let Maybelle grow up in a world ruled by the Emperor's cruelty, and he's ready to build a new one from the ground up. A father's love is indeed the best weapon of all time. So guys, what do you think of this story so far? Please subscribe and turn on notifications for updates on this and all our other stories, so you can be the first to find out when they're out. Thank you so much for your support. See you in the next one!